there, ladies, gentlemen, and unicorns. Good evening and welcome to another Pixel Prophecy stream. First order of business is always checking whether the microphone actually has levels, and yes, it has. So at least we're not having any technical difficulties as of now. We never know how it goes with this stream. Good evening. Hello, everyone. How are you all doing? I see Frank has not been taking part in the quiz, which is totally fine. Like I said, you're probably way too much in the lead. And thank you also for being a subscriber for the insane amount of 67 months. Really, thank you, Frank, for supporting this small little channel this much for this long. So very much appreciated. And Schmonuts, congratulations on winning apparently the pop quiz. I mean, is it still winning when there is no competition? And to that I say yes. In the end, if you get the gold medal, no one asks if there ever was a silver medal. So congratulations on this. And Kersey is also here. Hello, Kersey. Hello, unicorns and the rest. Hello, Kersey. And Frank says the microphone has leveled up. Oh, has it leveled up in terms of audio levels, or I hope there is no clipping, because I changed some of the audio settings, or at least I tinkered with them, because small announcement tomorrow evening. Well, not at this time, but a little bit earlier. I'm on the panel of the Austrian Streamers podcast, where it's everything retro. I think we will be live podcasting. It's also going to be on Twitch, but not on this channel, for about 90 minutes or so. And yeah, I'm super stoked to be the resident historian. Apparently at my age, I'm already in that bracket. So very much looking forward to this. I'm not restreaming it because it will be in German, and I don't think that there are many German speakers following this channel, or if there are, I mean, those who aren't, they will probably not be very interested in me talking about retro for 1.5 hours. I mean, you all always have this. I mean, just right now. Wonderful. Frank says, of course it is, right? It's still winning. And Frank says, no, I was just wondering if the microphone, is playing games or is actually a game itself. If the microphone were leveling up, then of course at some point it would invest in certain skills that I don't have, and then it's always a little bit embarrassing when you're in a stream and the microphone is of a high level than you are, so I'm not letting the microphone play. I'm playing the microphone more or less like a Tamagotchi, in a sense that, oh, did it shit itself? I better clean it up before the stream starts. So it's more like this kind of situation. You're barely 56, son. Well, in that case, I feel a little bit better. That is true. I look. The question was, do you want to look younger than people assume? There's a simple trick to it, and that is always give your wrong age. So when people ask me, hey, can I ask you how old you are? And I say 49. They say, well, you look pretty good for 49. See, I'm already looking younger. How many colonoscopies have you even had? Not enough, apparently. Frank says you can be a historian without being a history or historical. I mean, this is also how you can still, what was it? The comparison is write what you know. And I always say, well, if that's the case, then we would have much less crime novels. So, and of the point of view of murderers. And I think, yeah, you can be a historian without being historical yourself. Tamagotchi, what century was that? Oh, 1700? I don't remember, but it's been away. And Lady Mistcliff is also here. I'm not historical, I'm usually hysterical. Oh, congratulations. That's a good one. I'm the resident hysterical on the panel. That's also an option, indeed. Moisturizer, says Lady Mistcliff. Indeed, yeah, this is the other trick on how to stay young. Just use the good old moisturizer. Kidding aside, I'm using moisturizer since I was 17, 18 or something. So apparently I still have skin, so it worked. It worked. Yes, future Phil must have a good skincare routine. Indeed, And the best skincare routine for the future is to start it in the past. Really makes you think. No, it does not. But when I say something that doesn't make you think, when I add the phrase makes you think, doesn't it? My hope is that other people think I'm a little bit more clever than I actually are. So I just hope they don't see right through it. And now I just gave away the secret. So there we go. Right, so as for today, what is on the schedule? There are two things. One thing is, last week I think someone mentioned in the chat that the tinkering on the PlayStation 1 graphics of my old home street was somewhat cozy to them, and also it was cozy to me. And yeah, I thought maybe, you know what, maybe just let us just ramble and continue on that, because it's always nice and cozy if hopefully there is some nice music playing in the background, and just something where we can chat to other people, play friend slop games. For me, it's tinkering with old software and making things look like in old games. Frank says, it doesn't make me think. It makes me having not thought in the past when I should have. Not having thought in the past. Oh, okay, interesting. English doesn't have the right verb tenses to properly express what I mean. I think I know you mean not having thought in the past. There's probably some very fancy Latin term of what you want to express. I think I got the meaning, the different tenses. If there is the correct word, it wouldn't help me anyway. I'm very bad at this. Like I said last stream, to me verbs are still doing words, and nouns are capital words, and adjectives are how words to me. This is how I differentiate words. Anything beyond that, tenses and so on, I'm not good with words. Kirsty says, do you mean it makes you realize you didn't think? You know what, I think this could be, but it's something of not having thought about something in the past. This is how I understand. Anyway, my thinky nog is hurting a little. So, oh yeah, one thing while we're on the on the subject of thinking. Oh God, this was horrible. I'm sorry. Good news, everyone. Ludum Dare postmortem to Ludum Dare 48 is complete. It's in beta, so to speak. So the edit is complete all the way from the start to the credits. Everything is in there, but it's still in beta, so to speak, because now what do you do usually in beta? Well, you got everything feature complete and things are working for the most part, you think. So this is why you do some beta testing. I will have Connie watch everything, and hopefully, because she's an editor by profession, hopefully she gives her the thumbs up that everything works. And the other thing you do during a beta is balancing. And also for video productions, this means to balance the colors, to balance especially the audio levels, maybe do some audio design for some of the graphics. But overall, I would say we're very close to release on another postmortem. And again, it has been hundreds of hours, as always, in the making. So good news for that. And hopefully, if you're a valued patron, sooner than later, when I know at roughly the window on when to premiere this postmortem, which will be a YouTube premiere. So it will premiere for everyone at the same time, but to my patrons, I will let you choose a time slot when is the most convenient for you, because of course I want you all to be there, because you all make this possible. So I will probably in the coming week I will send out an update on Patreon about finding the right time slot, and then it's, like I said, it's very close to completion, and I'm so stoked. Finally, another postmortem is out. Right, maybe I'm not too English. I'm too English brained. English brained. That's a nice word. And premiere indeed. Yes, on. We will try the YouTube Premiere thing and see how it works. I mean, with Adobe Premiere, I'm not too fond of that experience, but hopefully on YouTube, because I like it. It's a bit of a popcorn event for everyone. So hopefully you get to join. Frank says, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy points out somewhere that the main problems of time travel really aren't about paradoxes and killing your grandparents, they're about grammar. This is a classic Douglas Adams stuff. I love this overthinking and trying to find the absurd in things. It's about grammar. Confession time, I haven't read The Hitchhiker's Guide yet. I know about many of the jokes and tropes and Towel and 42 and the sad robot and all that sort of thing and the destruction of the earth, which is hilarious. But I haven't actually read it so far. So this is really something that probably I should be doing. I mean, I read Treasure Island because I thought it was historically important. It's not that good a book. Probably The Hitchhiker's Guide will afford me much more enjoyment than Treasure Island. Okay, yes, so for today, the plan is, on one hand, a cozy PlayStation 1 graphics in Maya, and the other part is recreating the Matrix 3D effect, because I needed it for, you guessed it, the postmortem. And Lady Misleaf enjoyed Treasure Planet. Aha, Treasure Planet, that's something completely different by being, as far as I know, haven't read Treasure Planet, but I've heard that it's a new telling of Treasure Island, which is a little bit more updated. I mean, Treasure Island, the old one, it's really, it's an adventure story, and you shouldn't be thinking too much about it, because if you do, it doesn't work anymore. So Treasure Planet, on the other hand, I've heard better things about. Okay, Frank elaborates. The main work to consult in this matter is Dr. Dan Streetmentioner's Time Traveler's Handbook of 1001 Tense Formations. It will tell you, for instance, how to describe something that was about to happen to you in the past before you avoided it by time jumping forward 2 days in order to avoid it. The event will be described differently according to whether you are talking about it from the standpoint of your own natural time, from a time in the further future, or a time in the further past, and is further complicated by the possibility of conducting conversations whilst you are actually traveling from one time to another with the intention of becoming your own father or mother. Okay, I have to parse this, but I think that's part of the joke. But oh god, I Douglas Adams, I love how he writes this. It's so quirky and British. I love this. Thank you, Frank, for sharing. Did you copy this from an ebook, or did you just type it out whirlwind speed? Because either way, that was very quick. That was quick. Okay, Frank, you copied it. All good. But apparently with Twitch and the length of how much it allows you in one chat message, apparently you had to split it, which still is annoying, especially when you don't know it. Yeah, one of the small gripes to me is things like this, where, I mean, when it says, okay, you have a character limit and you're at character 986 from 1000, that I can work with. The worst part is message too long, cannot send. And bonus points for it eats your message without actually sending it. I've seen this somewhere. And yeah, usability, if you work in any kind of tools or something, please be kind to people and don't delete things, and be very specific about it. The other, of course, is unexpected error. Has there ever been an expected error? Well, of course, Windows 10 or 11 and especially Windows 12 is an expected error, but apart from that, it's like, yeah, this isn't helpful to anyone. So yeah. Frank says, it told me what the limit was. Good. Okay. That points for Twitch. Yeah, I think banking apps that I had to interact with, they are the worst, because they tell you, for example, that the end date cannot be for the starting date if you mix up your ranges. But and I always go, you know what, software, since you realize that this happened, you know what, why not flip the dates then? Because you clearly understand that both is a date and the one date refers to the other, but and we're in time travel paradox days mode again, so I apologize. You forgot Windows ME Mistake Edition. Ooh. that's you're on a roll today, Lady Misleaf. That's mistake edition. For those who haven't heard about Windows 12 or the announcement of Windows 12, yes, there was an announcement, and no, apparently April's Fools is much earlier this year. It's literally the if you play bullshit bingo with all the things that you do not want, and Microsoft said, you know what, with bingo where you have lines or the diagonals, and Microsoft went for the entire card of bingo. So every individual thing that you do not want is there. We have an AI assistant that is built into everything. You have a mandatory cloud. You have subscription based. You have modular. You have always on. You have the quality of service and software that is Microsoft in general. You have new hardware specifications. Why everyone got a freaking secure boot thing installed in their machine so that they finally could upgrade to Windows 11 so this thing would shut up. I mean, not everyone, of course. Some people are still very happy with Windows 10 for reasons. So yeah, Windows 12 is shaping up to break the mold in a sense that no, not every other Windows version is the good one. This one is actually breaking the zigzag trend of going all the way down, and they're not wasting any time. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to how that plays out for good old Microslop. But yeah, we will see. I will stick with Windows 11. So the best thing in my experience to Windows 11 compared to Windows 10 is that you have tabs in your Explorer windows. I think Mac OS had this already for a long time. Windows finally caught up, and that's the only thing that I like about Windows 11. Anyway, I think I said this already. This should be a cozy stream, and it's not very cozy to hear me rant about things that I don't like, because we know I'm not going to change things. I cannot change things, and yeah, it's making everyone just more grumpy. So yeah, let me catch up with the chat. Then we shit on Microsoft for a little bit, and then do something else. Lady Misleaf says, what I've missed was Frank. Also, the end date can be before the start date. For details, see Dr. Dan's Street Mentioner's Time Traveler's Handbook, exactly of 1001 transformations. Lady Misleaf said, I thought you were kidding with Windows 12. Oh, if only. And Kersey also hasn't looked into Windows 12 yet. And Lady Misleaf says, my new Windows 11 gaming machine gives me an error at every boot up saying that OneDrive isn't set up. Yeah, there's a reason for that. Oh yeah, I'm not sure if I've mentioned it on stream. Probably I have, but if you want to scrape off all the shit from Windows 11 as much as possible, especially when it comes to privacy settings, let me again refer to you to the ShutUp++. Yes, it's really what it's called. Let me see if I can find it again. ShutUp+ for Windows 10. ShutUp 10 by O&O Software. I will paste it here into the chat, because this is the anti-spy tool for Windows 10 and 11, where it's otherwise you have to go through cascades of user settings to switch that thing off, and this is this one tool that really you don't have to install it. It just deactivates as much as possible telemetry and that sort of thing from Windows 10. So if you haven't, yeah, please get it. And Schmonat says, have I mentioned that I'm now on Linux and will be back streaming and building things only on Linux in the future? Windows goes to hell, unfortunately. You haven't mentioned it, but I totally get the sentiment. The same for me. My problem is with all the Adobe software and so on, and the very bad experiences that I've had over the decades with Linux, because I'm not a Linux power user, and it feels like Linux is more or less for people, unless you want to do the very basic things, but it's for people whose hobby is operating systems, and it's the same thing with people whose hobby is cars. Of course, it's super fun to tinker with them and get to the engine and see what you can tweak there. But for me, I'm the one, I just want to go from A to B, and I don't care about anything in between. And then it breaks down, and all other car nuts know exactly what the issue was, and I, as a stupid user, do not. And this has been my experience with Linux so far. That being said, yeah, if Microsoft keeps shitting the bed with it, I'm gone with Windows. I'm done. Windows 11 probably will be my last Windows. I mean, probably with all the Adobe things that I'm that I'm beholden to, probably will adapt to Mac OS, which also I don't like. But yeah, I already have my old notebook, and this will be my first Linux only machine. So we will see how it goes. But yeah, this really has to say something, because I'm a die-hard Windows fan, not because of choice, but because I've locked myself into the Windows way, and I have hundreds of batch files that do everything that I need to be doing. So yeah, I set things up as much as I could to be convenient for me. Again, with all the features just scraped out of it. But yeah, again, at some point, yeah, I'm gone. I'm out. What else have I missed? Scroll up. Kirsty says, maybe need to accelerate switching to Linux main. Right, that's the thing. Same for me. Lady Misleaf says, and my Windows 10 still tells me to upgrade to Windows 11 despite not being able to. That is the best, right? It's classic. It's Microsoft. It's when you shut down Windows and it says, yeah, one program is blocking the shutdown process, and it's the Windows Microsoft Process Manager. And then you say force shutdown, and then you get for half a second this error message that, oh no, something happened to a critical system process. I mean, who's programming these things? It's probably Copilot all by itself. Ah, dear. Lady Misleaf says, my old gaming machine can support it, and thanks to the price of RAM, I'm very happy I did the upgrade, but mostly still use my old unless I play high-end games. That is the thing. Do we actually need a new operating system every couple of years? We do not. I mean, with the prices of RAM and hardware in general now, because the data centers are gobbling up pretty much all of the manufacturing output that there is. This is why there is there is no money to be made in consumer RAM. That's the reason why there is no RAM. There is no shortage, so to speak, because the manufacturers, they have enough to produce, but they're just selling it to the server people doing AI, because their margin is much higher. So that's all there is. So what we will see, of course, is everything getting more expensive that needs a computer and or RAM in it. A spoiler, pretty much everything nowadays. And what I would love to see is that there is a focus now on software quality, on, okay, we won't get any more RAM with this, but we still want to get things to be more performant, more optimized. And okay, we cannot just wait until the next better chip or more memory comes up. We really need to optimize what we already have. And when we look at things like the old consoles or Commodore games, I mean, when you compare how games looked like when the Commodore came out and homebrew Commodore games that work on essentially the exact same hardware, where it's just much more optimized and people really teased out every last bit of a system. And I really want that this comes back and that the quality of software keeps improving. Yeah, I'm a sweet summer child, I've been told. Shmonat said, I needed to run a program for 12 hours at work the other day and had to chatbot a while to make sure I clicked every possible option to keep Windows from just rebooting half the way there. That really is a concern. I think with O&O ShutUp++, you can set it up that Windows thinks it's part of a corporate managed system where it says, yeah, your company's administrator mentioned there are new updates and you can install it whenever you want to and not do it outright itself. But that being said, it doesn't work 100%. As you say, if you want a Windows machine to be running and rely upon, or what's the right word? You want to expect that it runs for not even 24 hours, not even 24 days or something wild like that, but just 12 hours without interruptions. And yeah, if your timing is bad, a Windows update force installs itself, and then yeah, I've had this happen multiple times. When I got back to my computer, which was rendering something, Windows thought, okay, no one has wiggled the mouse pointer for 5 minutes, no matter that the CPU is utilized 100% because there's a process of apparently going on. No, it's very important that we install the latest feature update of features that no one is using anyway. I'm in rambling mode again, I'm sorry. or for people whose hobby is playing games, most of which are not Linux compatible. Yeah, that is the other thing. But with Linux and Linux compatibility, our somewhat savior in that case is the Steam Deck, because Valve really pushed Windows compatibility via this, was it the Vulkan API layer in between, so that there is, we right now we do not get the same performance on Linux as on Windows, but at least it's much better than having everything compiled for Linux outright. So also with Wine and that sort of thing, it's not perfect, but at least it's to some extent feasible. It's like limping when you're dependent on Windows software, that you somehow can make things work. But again, for high performance games where every cycle counts, yeah, of course. But then again, Windows itself is the problem, right? Shmonat says, Wine is now so far with the Valve support. Yeah, I'm very surprised how many Steam games I'm able to play. Right, that's the thing. It's really good because Steam is such a big player that apparently Linux has not been floundering somewhere in the corner without any decent support. No, because Steam and Valve, for that matter, really has a stake in Linux gaming. And so who would have thought that a billion-dollar corporation is the savior, question mark, for Linux gaming? I mean, at least it's better than whatever Microsoft is doing. Linux is pretty smooth once you set it up, says Cursiboo, and for better or worse. Yeah, the setting up part is usually my problem. Lady Miss Cliff says, I love you calling it Microslop. Yeah, the thing is, I've recently read, apparently, I'm not sure if it's true, nowadays you cannot be sure anymore, but that people have been banned off the from the official Microsoft Discord for calling them Microslop. And also Satya Nadella said, yep, don't say slop, please don't call us Microslop, which I say, oh, you don't want me to call you Microslop, does it make you go cry? Well, I just keep calling you Microslop until you change your ways. Anyway, this is our cozy chill stream here. Frank says people who have OSs as a hobby are using one of the BSDs or possibly one of the BOSs or Amiga OS lookalikes. Okay, yeah, then this is essentially where you get down to your own kernel things. Okay, good point. And also Frank said, I'd say head over to ProtonDB and check your top 20 games. Yeah, Proton, that's the other thing, right? It's kind of neat how things for Linux are progressing in a sense. Yeah, so it's, like I said, for me, it's if Windows 12 is happening and there's no way around it, probably again we'll go Mac and or Linux, probably both, and then just see which sticks. Commander Stitch is here. Hello, Commander. I'm just bad mouthing Microslop, but I mean they had it coming. I'm working on Veilift Institute, says Commander Stitch. My second book. Oh, congratulations! Your first book has been out, I think, for over a decade now, if that's correct, right? So there's a second book then. Congratulations! That's very cool. But whatever, like that is of interest to anyone. I mean, it is. Congratulations! Don't put yourself down in that regard, please. Just know I'm doing things whilst listening to you and encouraging you to do cool stuff. Oh, I hope I also encourage you to do cool stuff, like getting on with the second book. So yeah, I think it's mutual inspiration. That's always the best kind. Lady Miss Leaf says, my upgrade was not due to the OS. The old computer was purchased just before COVID and couldn't run some newer high graphic games. I'm fine with games like Stardew Valley, currently loving Fields of Mysteria. But any 3D games, I go to the new one. Yeah, fair enough. I think the good thing with indie games is many of them, if they aren't too heavy with 3D, you can run them on a potato. I mean, Stardew Valley probably is also on that, somewhere on that spectrum, but this is again what I like about indie games. They can be interesting without requiring you to do the Call of Duty thing where the game is 235 gigabytes and then require a patch of 35 gigs on day one, and so you can just walk up to every wall and say, yeah, it's a wall. It looks like a wall, very detailed wall, but it's still Call of Duty. Okay, probably I'm being a little bit spiteful here. Steam Deck, says Lady Misleaf, is no longer available due to the shortage of RAM. Are you kidding me? Really? I mean, wasn't it that Valve announced their Steam machine computers or Steam Deck for your living room, more or less? And then the RAM prices exploded, and Valve said, well, guess we gotta wait. But of course, Proton Vulkan is the new generation OpenGL replacement. Thank you, Frank, for always the Proton layer and Vulkan is the graphics thing. Thank you for putting that straight. But yeah, talking about the RAM shortage, I last December had big problems getting this tablet computer that I was looking for, because it has a Snapdragon processor, but also a stylus that you can draw on, but under the hood runs a Windows thing. So this was perfect for me because I tried different things like Android-based tablets and so on, and it was so hard to get this, I think it's called the Asus Pro Art tablet or something, and I got it at a good price. And then 1 week later, I got the email, oh no, we don't have it in stock, apparently, sorry. And then I looked around and no one had it in stock anymore. And this really was disconcerting, because I tried to look for, okay, probably there might be an alternative with similar specs, but there wasn't any. So it was starting last December, where there was a weird void of affordable hardware out there. And I was lucky. I bought it on Amazon, and the only reason why I still got one was because it had the French keyboard layout. And I mean, of course, it's not really a big concern, because of course keyboard layouts are just you can easily switch them. The only thing is, of course, now it's cosmetic that it doesn't look as nice, because of course what I did was I bought the one with the French keyboard layout, and I bought stickers for the keyboard so I can just change the how the key caps look. That's all. I mean, it's not very aesthetic, it's just a little cosmetic blemish, but overall this was the only machine that I could get. And I've looked again, and now none of all the tablet computers that I was looking for are in stock at all. Apparently they're not being produced anymore. So as you said, yeah, the Steam Deck is not being produced. I wonder what with the Switch 2, whether the prices will change. It's weird right now, and all because of this incredibly scaling up of AI technology. I don't think there's such a demand for. I think some of us have seen the Toot somewhere, which goes like this, where people or these AI corporations are buying with money they don't have, hardware that doesn't exist, to generate profit that isn't mathematically possible. There are so many things that aren't possible, but apparently there is this reality distortion field when there's too much money involved, because everyone just wants so much to believe that AI is happening. And I mean, didn't someone do the math and said, yeah, when every person on the planet has an open AI subscription for 2 years or something, even then they don't rake in their money that they've spent on building this. So yeah, anyway. Frank says, Proton, right? Commander Stitch says, yes, Wayleft has been out since October 2017, so it's almost 10 years. And if you, by the way, Commander Stitch, Wayleft is this, if I recall it correctly, little coming-of-age fantasy adventure novel. So if you want to share it, please dump it in the chat for people to find it who are interested in it. Frank says to Lady Misleaf, oh sure, but as long as they keep working on support, I don't care. Yeah, with the Steam Deck, as long as it's work, I'm also glad that we got our Steam Deck. Haven't used it for much, but testing of my game so far. But it's working, and for that, at some point probably we'll go out and just play. The economy is a mess, indeed. Well put, Kersey. I could have saved myself half an hour of rambling by saying the economy is a mess. I mean, yeah. Ah, dear. Lady Misleaf says they're all out of stock until they get more RAM. They're not stopping productions. It's just ground to a halt for the moment. That's the thing. It's also what I've heard. An interesting perspective was from one of the suppliers for SSD memory controllers. So not the memory itself, just the controllers. And this person said that we will see a lot of a big reckoning to suppliers of these mid-tier hardware, because like I said, everything has RAM in it, and the margins at some levels of integrated circuitry and controllers and that sort of thing is relatively small. So if the prices just increase that much, they don't have a business model anymore, because if you, for example, if your margin is like 1% of everything that you make, but of course you just try to counter this by volume, and then it works. But if suddenly you cannot produce a bigger volume, you cannot and you have to increase the prices, but then no one's going to buy what you have anymore. So it's this cascade of bad things happening. So yeah, again, no one knows what's going to happen. It doesn't look good, but at some point, this is in the long run, I'm always optimistic, where I feel like, okay, at some point things gotta break down, and then something beautiful and new and hopefully better will rise from the ashes. So I can't wait for this entire thing to finally crumble down. Every year I'm hoping so. Hopefully this year the bubble bursts. Ah, dear. Lady Miscliff says, the Microsoft ramble needed to happen. I needed to know what to look out for, and thanks for the tool. Okay, you're welcome. In that case, if I helped some of you, okay, then I'm good. Frank says, the RAM prices are what convinced me to get into model trains, so it's not all bad. See, at some point, it's this blue ocean strategy, right? It's compared this, this is some business talk, because I've my master's in project management and that sort of thing. So this is where I heard it. The blue ocean strategy. So you want this blue ocean instead of the red ocean, because the red ocean is where all the fish are biting each other and the water is just blood. And you want to find this blue ocean for yourself, where there is no competition. And so for your hobbies is when everything is just going expensive with this kind of hardware, just look at different hardware. I feel that's very wholesome. So congratulations on finding something this quickly. I don't know what to do with myself if I can use my computer. Probably draw or something. Model trains. Today I built some wooden frames and plywood things in preparation, and also last week spent too much money on trains. I mean, with the price of one DDR5 slot bar, you probably get a lot of trains. Oh my god, an anonymous grifter happened. Thank you so much. Oh dear, I need to... there I am. Hi. Thank you so much for the gifts. Oh, you have been so generous. So congratulations, everyone. You got access to all the beautiful Pixel Prophecy channel emotes, such as this one and this one and this one, and also of course the unicorns, hopefully. So please say thank you to the anonymous grifter for their generosity. Oh, this is so nice. And right, so model trains, Frank, and probably you get much more value out of the money that you spend compared to just RAM nowadays. Commander Stitch says, if you want to read Waylift, just email me and I'll send you an up-to-date PDF of the story, and you can read it that way. If you want a hard copy, visit commanderstitch.com and click the Waylift book link. Either way, if you really are serious about reading it, skip the first 3 chapters, start 1.5 chapter 4, and just go from there. Okay, that's usually this is what you read somewhere, not from the author, right? When the author says, you know what, just skip the first 3 chapters. Yeah, it's good. It's fine. Interesting. So thank you for sharing this, and I might come back to you on this. Frank says, to Lady Mistleaf, yes, on a money level, this plan may not work. With the RAM prices. Blue ocean is a horrible metaphor considering we are adding to a blue ocean event. Okay, that's... Okay, I'm sorry for that. Also, today, says Frank, I couldn't find my normal-sized hammer, so I bought a new one. Oh, first world problems. Normal-sized hammer. Now I'm thinking about, do you have a hammer that's comedically oversized, that is like a novelty hammer, or is it a super small one for a doll's house? Oh, thank you. Kersey says, appreciate the unicornicious gifts up. Oh, that's a hard word. The unicorn felt compelled to say, probably should have a sip of water. I didn't today, so cheers. Did you say grifter instead of gift up? I probably did. See, this is what the state of affairs does to me. When someone says, I have a gift for you, usually I think, oh, they're having a grift for me. So yeah, this, I think on a sociological scale, I'm much more inclined nowadays to say grifter than gifter. So it's even more appreciated. I'm sorry for saying this. Cool. Okay, so let's try to get some work done. Yes, this was the correct button. So again, this is the website of the O&O ShutUp++, the anti-spy tool for Windows 10. It's freeware. You can download it for free. The only thing that, of course, they say is, hey, you know what? We got other products like defragging and disk analysis, but yeah, this O&O ShutUp. The cool thing about this is, of course, if Windows does an update, and I say this like it's a young dog and does something in the corner. So when Microsoft does an update, of course, some of these settings will break. The cool thing is ShutUp 10 will recognize this and say, you know what, things have changed since the last time you opened me. Should I revert whatever has been set? And of course, you can save everything as an configuration file and reapply it to multiple machines, for example, should you have to. So yeah, this has living rent-free on my local machines ever since I transitioned to Windows 11. So again, yeah, from my perspective, it good. And Tsiangmo is here. Hello, Tsiangmo. Thank you for raiding. Oh my God, I'm hyped. I'm being raided. How was your stream? How was pixel art for beginners? What were you been doing? Have you done something more for Occult Office? By the way, if you want to drop the link to Occult Office, it's this office planner, this cozy pixely office planner, but also with games, if I recall correctly. So please, let me try. Shout out Tsiangmo. That's not how you do it, apparently. Sorry, I'm new at this. I'm old. I don't know how these intertubes work. Okay, it's not the exclamation mark. It's the slash. So shout out username is incorrect by saying I shouldn't type out usernames. There we go. Finally, shout out was given. Thank you, Raiders. Amazing. I hope you had a wonderful stream. Right. Frank says a 450 gram hammer. I didn't find my two 225 gram hammers, but if you have a lot of nails to hammer in, having the right size, I mean, it's always good if you have a hammer and everything is nails, I hope. And thank you for reaching. Apparently the hype train has reached the station and I got a hype chest, and it's a kitty hype emote, which I will be sharing with the pre-filled in reply that is choo choo. So thank you for gifting me a random emote. I mean, I like cats, so that's all good. Blame it on the translation from German to English. I always blame it from translations. And no, says Frank, you can't use two 225 gram hammers as one. I mean, theoretically this would work. It's also when people said 20 years ago, 25 years ago, you know what, there's this new game that you should really be playing that is called Final Fantasy VII. And I thought, okay, that sounds cool. Probably I should get it for my PlayStation. And I went to the store the next day with my new allowance for that month and thought, you know what, I'm in for a game. But Final Fantasy VII was sold out, so I thought, you know what, if I get Final Fantasy VI and Final Fantasy VIII, which was also out, you know what, I just buy those, and statistically I then have two Final Fantasy VIIs. Did not quite work out, but you would think on paper it made sense. Lady Mistliff said, I swear one day my mom tried to say a little bit, and I heard a little bitch. We still laugh of it to this day. Okay, that's good. Just try to be a little bit less annoying. Oh, this is, I probably have to make sure now that I don't say this myself. Colin Bellino is also here. Hello, everyone. It's Young Mo said, we made icons for the skill tree today and looked at a lot of fewer cups. And thanks for the... Always welcome. Always welcome. I really like it, the more handmade pixel art there is, because sometimes I feel when I see the occasional pixel art masterpiece somewhere, and as soon as you start to look a little bit closer, you think, wait, the pixels are a little bit wonk. Oh no, is this slop? Is this slop? And sometimes it really is slop. So I'm always, the more human, the more manually pushed pixels there are, the merrier. Console AT is also here. Hello, Console. And Commander Stitch said, definitely seems legit. O&O ShutUp 10 Plus is quite a name for a program. I mean, also with the O&O, I love the logo because, again, it looks like two eyes and a pretzel face in between. It goes like, oh, shut up. So yeah, this is my recommendation. Also, please, Raiders, if you want your Windows 10 or 11 to shut up, again, I will post it in the chat because I can't recommend this program enough. It's here's another screenshot again. So you can disable pretty much everything that you don't like. And the cool thing about this user interface is that it is not, you know, the black design patterns, the dark patterns, where like with the cookie banners, okay, the one button that disables all the cookies is somewhere grayed out and hidden and super small. Or when you want to close an advertisement, the X that is like, I mean, 1 pixel sometimes. I'm exaggerating, but just a little bit. So, and O&O ShutUp is the opposite. So everything that is disabled, everything that is good for your privacy, this shows up as green, and everything that is bad for your privacy shows up as red. And it's not enabled to disable the enablement of disabling something. It's not that kind of grammar that tries to trick you into something that you do not want. So yeah, again, I have to praise good user interfaces when we see them. And Frank said, anyway, it's getting towards 10 on Saturday again, so I'm about to start lurking. Have fun the rest of the stream. And as always, thank you, Frank, for subscribing for 67 months. Again, I don't know what to say apart from thank you. And yeah, have a great week. Thank you for staying here and have fun lurking. And hopefully we will see something that's hopefully of interest. Right, so my tagline said, making a 3D matrix effect, and we haven't started on this yet. So for anyone who's new there, hi, I'm Phil. I make videos, and my newest video is about to drop in 2 weeks, and for that I needed a matrix, 3D matrix effect. By needed, I mean I'm using air quotes, because do I really need it? No, I just realized it in the script. I said a glitch in the matrix perhaps. So this is why I thought, you know what, it would be fun if the entire image flicks to a matrix, and that's the thing, and that's it. And then I thought, you know what, how to do this? How can you do this? And I learned how to do this, and I will show you just very quickly how I did this in case you want to do this yourself or just are interested in the process. All you need is a tool to make pictures in. I use Photoshop because I bought into Photoshop 30 years ago, and I can shake it. And the other software that I'll be using is Maya, Autodesk Maya. Again, you probably very likely can do this with Blender. I mean, the concepts will probably be the same. It's just where you find certain things. And yeah, 67 months, that's 5.5 years. That's indeed, right? This is, I'm not even that old, I think. Have I really been streaming for this long? So again, Frank, seriously, thank you for being, you have this unbroken streak. So I really don't know what to say. It just, thank you. Okay, so a matrix. What is the effect that I want to create? It's this. So I clipped this out of the first Matrix movie. It's something like this, where you have something that is in 3D, but it has the Matrix effect, like I said, in 3D, but also with different lighting situations. I don't have the shot where of the actual the camera shot looking down, but it's in terms of brightness, it's similar. So there's just a light at the end, and again, this is reflected here in this matrix thing. So what I will be building will not look quite like that. It will be a bit different, but it will look similarly enough if you want to carry this across, this matrix feeling. So what will be different in the approach that I'll be showing you? And one thing is that when I'm advancing frames, let me see if I can zoom in, that when you watch it, that the letters change. So probably it's a bit hard to tell. Let me try to start there from the beginning. So that from frame to frame, the letters itself change in the series, so they flick around a little bit. So what I'll be showing today is doing this, but with static letters and but this cascading effect of the things running down from the top. This of course will be animated. So just so that you know what you get yourself into. So the first thing, of course, for that is in Photoshop we need a texture. We need this kind of random letters. So when I did this, I asked myself, well, let's have a look at what actually the letters are. And when I zoom in, I mean it's not that easy to see what actually the letters are, but my guess is it's pretty much what is in the intro, right? So this is what it looks like in the intro. So from first glance, what I see is there are some, always using the wrong mouse pointer here. The letters looks like to be a mixture of numbers and Japanese letters, right? But of course, the closer you look, I mean, this here looks like a mirrored 2. This looks like a mirrored 3. So all the characters, apparently also the Japanese characters, have a tendency, or there's a chance that they are flipped or flopped, or sometimes even both on one end or the other. So and as for the font that is being used, it looks like it's especially here when we realize that this is A3, it looks like the Macintosh font that is called Chicago. So if I show it to you and we look here at the numbers, I think it's this font. So the only downside to this is, at least to the font that I quickly could find, there aren't any Japanese letters to it, and I want to have this Japanese thing to it. So what can you do? Well, what I did was, like I said, it's not going to look exactly like this one here, but is in spirit the same. Thank you, Automated Unicorn, for reminding me to have some water. And by in spirit, what we need for this effect is something where the letters are, you can put them on a grid essentially, because this is for the matrix effect. So for example we need a monospaced font, so where the spacing between the letters is always the same. It's a classical terminal font and not so much the font you write a novel in, because for example if you have the letters I, J, I, of course they will be very close together, and if you have the letters like W, 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 they will be this far apart. And of course in a monospaced font every letter occupies the same amount of space. So what I needed instead was I really would have wanted to use this font, but I couldn't because it does not have the Japanese characters. So the first thing is, what Japanese characters are this? I mean, some of you, since we're nerds, have looked a little bit at Japanese before, and know that these are katakana, or kata for short. So what I need, of course, is now a terminal font that has katakana. So what I googled, I mean, I'm using a different search engine now, but I was looking for Japanese monospaced terminal font. And the one that I found was here on GitHub. And yeah, it's this one. So of course it looks a little bit different, but you can see here there are some katakana and hiragana characters as well. And so this is the one that I started out with, and this was called Relaxed Typing Mono GP. So this is the font that I was using. So again, it looks like a terminal font, but not like the font that was used there for the Matrix. So Lady Misleaf said, I'm going to have a lurk, may end up playing a game here. Sorry, all good, Lady Misleaf. Not gonna lie, I'm here more for the rants than anything, so don't feel bad for the rants. Okay, then I don't feel too bad for the rants. I just, again, I don't want to get them out of hand, because you know, with my rants I can't change things. I always rant about the same things, Microslop, Adobe, my prime targets, because they just keep on giving and giving. So if you feel that yeah, Phil has ranted enough, please, I'm not mad at you when you say in the chat, hey Phil, please steer back to some sort of topic. All good with me, please. And Lady Misleaf says, oh yeah, I did a quick check. That one familiar symbol I thought was Hira rather than Kata. Okay, so it's Hira and Kata. See, like I said, this is when you're a gaming nerd, at some point, I mean, you've not really that let's say, seriously pursued learning Japanese, but at some point in your teens, probably you have, and at least you have memorized some hira, some kata, and maybe even some kanji when you felt very, very nerdy and cool. At least I have. So this is how I know what these characters are. For those who don't, all good. Let's head over to good old Wikipedia. Wonderful website, and when you look at katakana, then it tells you everything that you need to know. And the important part here are the katakana just here. So you see all these characters. Of course, hiragana, probably it also should there be a link. Yes, there we go, hiragana. Okay, yeah, right. Some characters are hiragana characters. That's true. So some of them like this one here, su or tsu. This one I remember from back then. Yeah, and a mirrored 5. Yeah, that is true. There are many characters, like I said, that are mirrored. For example, here, this could be a 6, this could be a 9, where we have the 3 that was mirrored and upside down, or here, this one. So, and I think the same thing is happening here with the Japanese characters as well. Or sometimes it looks like they have been, again, somehow mangled. I mean, of course, this also looks like it could be a kanji. So, yeah, it looks to be like a version of Chicago with the Japanese characters in there, because I mean, The Matrix was produced in 1988, came out in 99. So this was cutting edge to have Japanese characters in a display font. I mean, we were lucky in Austria and German speaking languages when we had umlauts and other language specific characters on a terminal font, because this was just unheard of, because to Americans everything was ASCII, and that's that. Right, so let's start and create a new document, and this will be our texture, the main texture for everything that we will share, that is going to be shared with all the models then. So to make this texture, I'm using powers of 2. So let's go with something 1024 by 1024. Let's start out with this, and make here a text box. And so this is, of course, the last font that I used was this charming script font. So what was the one called that I want? Relaxed typing. That's what it's called. Relaxed typing mono. And of course, it shouldn't be centered, but it should be left aligned or even justified. If you can justify it, so I bring this up so and zoom in. So it's this one here, this left justified that we want. So of course this is just some lorem ipsum text, and so how do you get random characters? This was surprisingly difficult for me, because all I wanted was random Japanese characters and the occasional letter and maybe asterisk in there or something. When you Google for websites or search for websites and you say, yeah, random hiragana or random katakana, it's 99% it's learning websites where they want to teach you, and you can't get like 2,800 characters. You may get 50 or something, and one after the other, because you're studying, you're memorizing them. So instead, what I had to do, and this is the fun thing when you're doing game dev, you go and you feel like, you know what, I can probably program something like this myself, and this is what I did. This is my random glyph generator, and let me show you the code, because it's really simple. So this is the entire code. Before I go into the JavaScript, what it does is it makes an HTML file, and in the body it has one text area. I always say it wrong. Text area, and that's it. And it has an ID that is TA for text area, and that's it. So the script, what it does is I just specify, okay, I want 2048 letters randomly, and then I have here something that I call my depot string. So these are comma separated values that I want to show up in this random in my random output. So essentially I'm just collecting this comma separated in one big string, then I'm splitting it into an array. And for the then I'm just picking a random entry from this array until I have reached the number of output length that I want. And then I write everything that I have, I put it into as value into this text area, and that's it. And for example, I want some letters, or in this case numbers, to appear more often than, let's say here, the katakana. This is why I just duplicated them, and this is how you have a very simple case of weightedness. So what I can add now is I think the asterisk, and maybe let's say a dollar sign or something, or yeah, the greater than or less than characters. And so when I hit F5, now there we have some of these asterisk shapes in there, and now I can just paste and copy. So again, this it was much faster doing it like this than trying to find a website that does it for me. And this again is really something that I've learned the hard way over the years. Is, you know what, had you started doing it yourself from the beginning, you would have spent so much less time trying to find the perfect fit to your problem, because in the end this tool does nothing apart from what I need to do. And again, it feels kind of neat when you can do this. And so where did I get the hiragana from? That is the other joy of Notepad++. So let's the katakana, let's also add here the hiragana. So what I'm going to do is I just copy this, and this again, I love Notepad++ because I just paste it here. I said I paste it here and quickly select here all the things that I do not want, just take them out. So, and to comma separate them, super easy. I just say I'm going to replace, let's use here a regular expressions. I'm going to replace everything that is S, or was it W? No, I think S is a white space. So any white space that is one or more is I replace with a comma. And white space includes tabs. White space includes also line breaks. So when I say replace all, no, replace, no occurrences. Replace all, there we go. So it was not a backslash, this was my problem. And now everything here is super simple, just copy, paste, and let's go here, katakana, and let's be very thorough and call this hiragana, and paste it, save, and now this should update accordingly. Yes, beautiful. Now I can just copy this and bring it over here to Photoshop and have here more or less what I set out to do. So Lady Mistliff says, do a single string with all the characters, then pick a random number between 0 and the length -1, and then, oh yeah, of course, this also would work. I don't know why I did it with the array. So I thought it's probably faster if everything is as a data structure in the array. And also in the end, instead of having a string and always adding 1 to the string, I just create a new array. And at the very end, when I'm done with filling the array with 2048 entries, I just say, okay, now please join everything into one string. But yeah, that's a good solution. And Lady Misliff also says, if you want a certain heavier weight to, let's say you want to be half kata, half numbers, repeat numbers, the string, exactly, yeah. So in the, of course, the elegant way would be to find a way to set, okay, with every character you can set a certain weight to it, how often it should come up. But again, this is over engineering things. If you just duplicated the lines like I did in the input, this also gets the job done much quicker, because again, in the end, you're just trying to solve this one problem. So no special characters, says Cursibu. Yeah, let's have a look at the special characters. One thing that I cannot reproduce with this way is, of course, all the flipped characters there. So what I see here is this greater than, the asterisk, the numbers, less than, some, oh, okay, there's a plus sign, and I think some dashes. Yeah, there's a pipe, there's a colon there. You know what? We can update this again, since we're writing this ourselves. So I'm going with a colon, with a dash, with a pipe, and I'm not sure if the dollar sign really was in there, so I'll take this out. And again, just, oh yeah, I started here with a comma. I think this is important so that everything here starts with a comma. So I'm just duplicating this so that it shows up more often, and here we go. So we get something that is vaguely matrix-like looking. Lady Misleaf says, I built a quick word search generator ages ago. Of course, you really know it. This is what I love about JavaScript. It feels like all you need is a text, a notepad, and a browser, and you're good. You don't need to compile anything. You don't need a software development interface or integrated environment or anything like this. All you need is a text editor, a browser, and you're good. So, okay, as here for the text. One thing that of course that I want is that everything should be in neat little rows and everything. So probably I need to change here my metrics a little bit. Let's make this a little bit smaller then. And of course I need to change here, or I don't need to, but I want to change the color to pure green because matrix. And Len Misleaf says, I kind of miss JavaScript, but I have to admit building things with Godot is faster. Faster once you know what you're doing. Yeah, that's the thing. You have to know what you're doing. With JavaScript, what I like about it, it's pretty open, especially with the canvas. The only downside is with the canvas, okay, essentially you have to write your own game engine underneath so that you track sprites, track mouse pointers, where something was clicked, track the depth of something, and of course with an engine like Godot, yeah, this has already been taken care of. So, right, one thing that I realize again is the problem here is in this terminal font is from the appearance of it, when you look at here this one glyph, like here the 8, so the Western glyphs have a certain width, and it looks like the Japanese glyphs have twice the width. So essentially it's kinda, yes, monospaced, but still not that good. So probably if you can find a font where really every character occupies exactly the same place, it's probably much easier. I just realized that yeah, this is probably, yeah. The output isn't monospace, right? Exactly, Kersey. That is the thing that throws me off, because I thought that this was a monospace font. Let's see if I'm doing something stupid here with the characters. So okay, let's say, yeah, with the metrics, we should use the metrics. Maybe if I set it to optical, but optical should be the exact opposite, where it really tries to make it optically look nice. So it looks different, but still not like it's ordered in neat rows. So yeah. If you make it vertical, maybe then it looks better. Oh yes, this could be. You mean instead of going lines of text, I make columns of text. How can I do this in Photoshop to have this top to bottom? Was this top to bottom leading? Bottom to bottom. This was not it. Or is there somewhere I can have blocks? Oh yes, I think this was it. Oh, look at this. Yes. Thank you, Kersey. This again helps a lot. I think didn't have this in my Tetris video, where also I'm having this snippet of a stream where I say, Kersey, thank you so much. This helps a lot. And same here. So yes, apparently Photoshop can, and I didn't really find it for long, so it's good that it's now working. So one thing, of course, since this texture is going to be repeated, it needs to tile neatly. So this means, of course, that when I'm going to tile it, we don't want to see any seams happening. So, and one thing that I also see here at the bottom is here it's cut off at the very bottom, and here at the top, do we have enough space to accommodate for this? Because I don't think so. So what I need to do is, of course, to make sure, okay, we're starting here at the top left. So this makes it a little bit easier to understand when something is off. So probably we can fit in here another row. And yeah, this throws it off a little bit, I feel. So one thing that I haven't really paid attention is the text size, the glyph size. I mean, right now it says 6 point, but again, 6 point, that's more typographical measurement. We want to have pixels that we can work with. So, because then we can calculate much easier the actual number of glyphs that we have. So, okay, I select everything, and if you recall, our picture size was it 1024? Yes, 1K by 1K. So let's stick to the power of 2 throughout. I select everything, and instead of saying here 6 point, I will say let's go with 8 pixels. So apparently this is 1.92 bytes points, so this is super small. This is way too small. So then instead, let's say 32 pixels. Okay, that looks a lot better. And this almost is good, but now we have the line spacing. In this case, it's the column spacing, and this should also be probably the same. So I'm going to just copy the size here and use it also here for the line spacing. So I'm going to copy this and paste it here, and hopefully this should change things. Did it change things? Again, with the top to bottom, I'm not quite 100% sure that it works how it should work. So aligning this, okay, maybe this is actually what we want. So I'm going to duplicate this, so just that I'm not messing things up, and merging everything down, and now I can use the offset filter. So the offset, again, it just repeats, it wraps around the edges. And when I do this, we can see here some clustering. So if you look at the spacing between the lines, it looks good, and here it becomes small and then it becomes bigger. So there is some issue here. I don't think, again, depends on this matrix effect, how long or how much you want it to view. So this could be a little bit problematic, especially if you look at things that tile a lot, because then it can become quite obvious. So when we again look at here our reference of matrix, the characters are much tighter packed. So they are really very close together. So maybe remove some characters with unequal height. Hopefully, again, this is why I was counting on the... I'm in the wrong image. On the monospaced font, so that everything, like I said, everything should slot neatly inside its little cell, so to speak. So, how can I do this? Okay, so we have here metrics and optical. I'm just trying to lock everything down as much as I can. So, okay, let's say, what if the line spacing is 24 pixels now? Then things are slightly more packed. What if it's 16 pixels now? Okay, then things really start to blur together, and this is, yeah, that's not pretty. Yeah, monospace would be easier. I was told that this was a monospaced terminal font. Darn it. I think there was, I'm not quite sure if it was in Photoshop or was it in Illustrator or some Adobe thing where you could really say, okay, everything is like a grid, and every character needs to slot itself inside a grid. Martijn is here. Ja, hallo, wie geht's? Thank you, Martijn. I'm fine. How are you? Bedankt. So, Martijn, we're trying to make this a matrix effect, and right now I'm trying to get the texture down. So essentially, this is the texture that I want to get. Again, this looks like some characters are flipped, which I'm not bothering with, and also it's a different font. So this is, of course, yeah, the Chicago, the Macintosh font that does not have support for katakana, or at least the font that I found did not have it. So that's the thing. And Console, Martijn, yeah, it's half the DOS Game Club is here. This is wonderful. So, yeah, again, what is throwing me off is that this was supposed to be a monospaced font, and it does not come off as a monospaced font. What I could try is a different font, but of course this will probably have problems with all the Japanese characters. So if I go with something good old like Korean New, probably should also select it. It looks good. but the Japanese characters have not changed at all. So yeah. Okay, let's go with 16 pixels there. Spacing again. Oh no, this was 24 pixels. That's a bit better. But this doesn't look monospaced, does it now? Okay, let's go with Fira code, for example, and hope for the best. Yeah, but it's Japanese characters. It's the Japanese characters. Some characters might just not be monospaced as crazy. I think that's the thing. So my hunch is that all the Japanese characters take up 2 slots, 2 spaces, or 2 widths compared to the non-Japanese characters. So again, probably the best solution would be, and I'm not going to do this, but isn't there a matrix font? Probably there is. The only font that I found so far was, of course, the Matrix logo, you know, the slightly offset glitchy font. You find this aplenty, but this version of Chicago with the Japanese characters I could not find, or at least not in the half an hour that I looked before. So if anyone finds a Windows version of the Chicago, apparently for Japanese computers, and maybe even with individual characters flipped. So yeah, what I'm not going to do today, but the solution probably would be, you know what, since we started with JavaScript, you know what, let's do this the old-fashioned way. Well, is it old-fashioned? Instead of doing this in Photoshop, we make it in a canvas with JavaScript, have every individual glyph have its own character, and draw it yourself in a neat grid, because that way you got the most control over it. Again, this probably would be the best solution, I would think, because then of course if you implement things like sliders or something, or spinners, then you can live watch how things look and even have a preview of how it tiles and everything. So yeah, why am I... Oh, of course. When your keyboard is offset by one key row or key column, and this is why instead of selecting Control A, I always hit Control S. This is a new issue. Okay, so let's do this. Let's reverse this. I'm using again the monospaced font that is not monospaced, and so I had now top to bottom. What if again? Control A. What if I do left to right again? Because this looks kinda better-ish. Huh. Not really, right? Again, I want my money back on the not monospaced font. So yeah, I had 32 pixels as the font size. Was it 32? Apparently not, because I was 32 pixels as the line width, and this looks incorrect. So let's go for 16 pixels line height. That looks a bit better, but again, it's clearly there's an offset. There's an offset. Oh dear. Anyway. Or, you know what we can do, because the Japanese characters are giving me so much grief. You know what, let's get rid of the Japanese characters, because they would have been fun and nice and really make this stand out. But since, again, we're not doing this apparently, then just have this here. Okay, is this now monospaced? Yes, okay, at least this looks sufficiently monospaced. Okay, so let's go with these kinds of random characters. And let's make it a bit bigger, because again, this is going to be a texture that we're going to tile. So, you know what, or we can just say, you know, we want twice that many characters. Kersey says, did you find GitHub Rasmussen Matrix? Let's have a look. No, I did not. I did not find this. Let's have a look. Okay, I love the attention to detail. I love the attention to detail on this font, because this is exactly how it should look like. The funny thing is that it even emulates the film, the physical properties of the film, which is, instead of having this bright green as we have here in Photoshop, instead of this bright green, it has here this where green that gets super saturated or bright becomes white and then yellow, and then has this nice glow to it as well. Thank you, Kersey. Didn't know that this is a thing, that this existed, and can we get the font from there? Assets. Okay, I have a matrix code TTF. This looks good. This looks very good. Otherwise, I would have suspected that it might be... Ah, okay, yeah, those are the reverse characters. There we go. Matrix Resurrected. That it might just be a bitmap of all the characters. Let's have a look at this. This might be the Japanese characters then. Are there any other TTFs? Sand, Resurrection, MSDF. Ah, okay, there we go. So apparently it looks like in some way it still is a bitmap of some sort. I'm not sure what is happening here. It looks like there are different channels for different things, maybe animations or something. Yeah, MSDF is apparently some graphics developers term. Huberfish A and D glyph sets. What are Huberfish? Apparently these ones. Okay, so this slightly over my head, but very cool. Thank you for digging this up. So I love the attention to detail on this one. So this was the incorrect one. So let's go with Matrix Resurrected, and let's see what changes when I use this font there. Matrix oh no, it's the good old Photoshop bug. Apparently you have to restart Photoshop so that new fonts are being registered there. Interestingly, this has already been solved. This was a problem with Windows 2000, I remember, but I haven't had this issue in many years now. But this being Adobe, of course, they reintroduce old bugs. So if I restart Adobe, then I will have the font as a potential font that I can select. This should have been much faster. At this point, I already wanted to be at the cozy part of it. So what was the font called again? Matrix Resurrect. Okay, well, could have guessed it. So let's see if we can find Matrix Resurrected Regular. And okay, there aren't any glyphs, but again, I have a hunch that this might be the Japanese characters. So if I add the katakana and the hiragana again and paste it here. Ah, there we go. Yes. Or no, wait, hang on. This is Myriad Pro. Matrix Resurrected Regular. Okay, apparently some glyphs that look like some custom glyphs perhaps. Ah, darn it. Okay then, let's go with Chicago. Take out the Japanese characters. Where's Photoshop? Did I just close? I closed Photoshop. Apparently I was so fed up. Either that or it just crashed. Okay, at least it starts fast, because apparently it's still somehow resident in RAM. So where is the last file that I had open? File open recent. Untitled.psd. Beautiful naming, Phil. Beautiful naming. So Chicago. There we go. Okay, somehow I can see this working. Let's use this for this. I mean, after all, this is just an example. So I will go with let's go with 64 pixels width and 32 pixels line height. That's not good enough. Let's go with 64 by 64 pixels. There's a lot of space between them, but let's go with 32. And also here, let's go with 32 and 16. That's too cramped. 32 and 24. That is also too cramped. 32 and 32. That's a little bit area, but this, yeah, you know what? I'm content with it. So let's do the offset check. So for this, I duplicate it, flatten it to the background, and see if I can see the tiling when I move things around. So filter, other, offset. There we go. And when I am here at 0 offset and then start moving things horizontally, there should be a visible line somehow. And when I do this vertically, then here at the top, a visible break should appear. Apparently, I have my geometry, my calculations correctly. It does not happen. It tiles perfectly. I will save this as my untitled reference. Okay, so of course now the background needs to be black. And I can save this already. I mean, the background could also be transparent, but for now, let's just go with that. Let's make a new folder here and call this matrix and texture 1. So for now, let's just go over to Maya if it hasn't crashed. No, Maya's still there. Oh yeah, there is my PlayStation 1 graphics. I mean, right now it's using PlayStation 2 textures just for modeling. Kirsty says maybe this is good too, but the page shows that the visible glyphs don't match with the character codes. Where is do not accept, reject all. Matrix code. Yeah, this is a different font, but of course it's definitely better than what we have right now. So yeah, apparently this is not Chicago, but thankfully here as the lower letters, it has much more sensibly these things lined out. So apparently this is from Norfolk Inc. Thank you. You know what? For now, I will keep what I have, but this is good to have in the back because to have in the back, this does not make any sense. On the backhand, on the back burner, just in case that I need it. Because again, I like it that the Japanese characters are here on the lowercase letters. This makes it much easier when you want to generate this font. Okay, so let's start a new for demonstration's sake, and let's make a little scene. Yeah, whatever is good for your video, but I really appreciate it. Thank you, Kirsty, for keeping digging, because this again with me, with my perfectionism, I look at this and say, yep, wrong font. This is not Chicago, and be gone with it. Again, if I were to do the full fill thing, then it would be, yeah, let's make this a canvas, a JavaScript canvas, and make my texture that way. Also, of course, then it would be much easier to create an animated texture, because again, you want certain glyphs to change as you had in the Matrix GitHub demo there. Because again, I really like how close it is to the original, how the attention to detail to it. Right, okay, so let's create a camera, and that we see something. Let's display a grid, and let's recreate this hallway just very quickly. So let's make here a plane, and one thing that we see it a little bit better, I'm going to add here some divisions to this plane. And for the hallway, let me duplicate this plane, or you know what, let's not duplicate it for now, and because I'm going to texture it then. So one thing, at the end of the hallway, we also have a plane there that will be the back wall. Again, just giving it some tessellation. Snap. And then we have here the walls on either side, and I think there were some doors, or let's have just one doorway. So for this, I'm just going to copy what we already have, flip, snap. Then make some room here. Something like this. And let's say the doorway is here. And just extrude it. Just so that there is something going on here in this scene. And let's look through the camera how this actually looks, because this of course will be the most important part, is how it looks. So I will preview it here with how we see it then inside the camera frame. So just flipping it over. And oh yeah, this side here of the hallway. Let me show you. Okay, apparently I'm using shortcuts that I haven't used before just because I want to zoom in. See this part here, this is where the background still shines through. So I need to take care of this one. And then I will quickly go into texturing. So what I can do just very quickly is just extrude this outwards on either side and be good with it. Okay, so this is our very simple geometry of the scene that we want to give this matrix texture. So let's look through the camera and give it, let's say, a bit more of a wide angle with 20, 28, something like this. And here we need to flip the normals. So something like this. Okay, so finally we can start on texturing. Bring this here. Still gaps very extruded. I think, yeah, this was my very crude way of doing this. Just move the back wall in. So I'm going to save this because it might get a little bit crashy, but yeah, thank you also for noticing, Kersey. So what I can of course delete now is things that you won't be seeing anyway, which is pretty much everything here on this doorway, right? When we look through it, yeah, I think the top wall might still be visible. But this one here we can just get rid of, because the less we have that we need to texture, of course, the better. And also here the ground, I can decrease in size, something like this. Okay, so let's look through the camera again, and yeah, this is what it looks like. Then of course we can introduce maybe some pipes somewhere, because this might look interesting. But for now, let's just keep it as is, and then we can look into texturing and mapping. So of course that we can map, we need to understand how it looks with the final texture on. And for this, I'm going to create just a standard surface. Like I said, you can do this also probably with Blender. The workflow might be different, but the concepts are the same. I'm using here the Arnold renderer, and for this I use a surface shader. In this case, it's called standard surface. And as the base color, unless of course it just crashed. No, it's spinning up my hard drive. This is another beautiful thing about Maya. I have one still magnetic drive in there, and of course if it's not being used, because it's just all my old photos are on there, it spins down. But for some reason, Maya, whenever you open up the hypershade or something, it always goes through, looks if all drives are present, and then of course you have to wait for the operating system to spin the drive up. So I'm loading now my matrix image, texture, there we go, and apply it to everything. So one thing here with the texture, you see here it's kind of glossy, and again we don't need the gloss, so I'm going to turn down the specularity completely. And also I use the output color as the emission color, and the emission again is like how much is it glowing from itself, and it's using the same texture to glow. So if I bring up here the emission, here you can see what is happening here. So if the emission is 1, then it's completely unaffected by lights. But since we want to work a little bit with light and shadow, I will turn down the emission so that roughly around like here 20% or something, so that if there are, or when there are shadows, then there's a little bit more happening, that you actually can see light and shadow still on this. Okay, so I have applied this. Let's switch over to the textured mode, and it looks kind of, well, okay-ish, but of course in the matrix it's much more dense, so this looks like it's a a digital level from a 90s shooter. So for this we have to look into the UV mapping, and so here in the UV map, let me dim here the background image a little bit. How can I do this? There we go. So yeah, you can see that this is of course the texture that I'm using. So, but since this is tileable, no one is stopping me from scaling up the texture as much as I did right now. So you can, you know what, I should really lock the camera. So view, lock camera, and I'm also going to set before I lock the camera, I'm going to set a keyframe there in the camera as well, so that in case that I'm moving it, that it always snaps back. So what I want to show you is when I zoom in here, sorry for the highlight, it's much denser now, and I think this is kind of what we want. Maybe it's a bit too small, but you can see here now that the texture, whenever I go over one end here of the texture, it just repeats, and this is, like I said, exactly what we want. So I'm doing the same thing for the other side as well, so that they are roughly the same size. And I can do, of course, the same thing here for the floor and for the back wall. And you can already see where this is going, right? So only one thing that is important is when we have this cascade rippling down, maybe you want it to flow in a certain direction. I mean, right now everything is laid out like I want it to, so that it's trickling down from the top. Again, it's like water. And of course, should you want to change the direction of this, all you need to do is rotate the texture coordinates. So then we have here some parts that aren't textured that well. So it's those repeated things here. Or you know what, let me just start on this side here. For this, I'm just saying automated mapping, and be done with it. So of course, since this is looping anyway, I can move the things out of the main texture, of the main square here in the middle, so that it's just easier for me to scale things up and down. So, and I think with that, we should be pretty close. So one thing that I've noticed here is, of course, since I mirrored this, everything here is also mirrored. So I'm going to mirror just the texture and not the geometry. Flip, there we go. And quickly mapping here the faces as well. Automatic mapping, scaling them up. So, and I think only the one thing here at the sides, this here is not properly mapped. So you know what, I'm going to map this from the top. Just say planar mapping. Or I can select multiple faces here and then have it like so. So I'm scaling this up. And essentially this is just a quick part of setting the right size of how you want the numbers to be. Then of course, if you want them to squiggle a little bit more, then you can use an animated texture where some of the letters just keep changing, which is kind of cool, because then everything breathes. And bonus points are, if you want to have some more depth, instead of having the texture there on black, you can have the texture on transparent and have multiple, for every wall you have multiple layers, so that you have some parallax going on, which also would be kind of cool. Kirsty says, I found a Wired article saying that the Matrix Digital Rain isn't actually random characters, it spells out sushi recipes. Oh, Oh my God, really? This, okay, I know I thought I knew a lot about the Matrix, but thank you for picking this up. Oh, I've learned now something that is my party knowledge. I'm not invited to parties, neither am I interested in going on parties, but should I ever need to make small talk with someone when I'm trapped in an elevator with someone, God, I hope this never happens. Then I can say, you know what? The Matrix is not random characters, it's sushi recipes. Oh dear. Thank you. Thank you for sharing and digging this up. This is wonderful. So one thing now is that I want, instead of the layout is now of this hallway, is now 90 degrees wrong. Because then, of course, the rain would go not from top to bottom on this hallway, but from the left, from the sides. And this would look a little bit weird. So this is why I'm just rotating it until it looks like this. And again, I don't care where this sits inside this square because it's being repeated. It's all good and dandy. So finally, we have things set up for the most part. I said I can just duplicate here. Let's save this and duplicate here this for the top. Something like this. And all I need to do is mirror it again. And I just mirror the actual geometry. It's a little bit faster. So kind of looks okay, I would say. So the thing, of course, is that it's missing here this rain and also missing some sort of light source, again, which I thought would be kind of cool. So for this, I just create a light source, and I've realized that point lights give you the best bang for the buck. I think, okay, this was an ambient light. This is not what I wanted, because they are very controllable. Create lights, point light, there we go. So I'm switching here now to this other perspective, and where is my point light? Oh, it's there, it's behind me. So looking through the camera again, and here this point light is a little bit hard to understand what it's actually illuminating, so I'm switching on my renderer now. So this is the Arnold renderer, and lo and behold, you don't see a lot, hopefully. It's because, yeah, I hear my drives spinning up again. Oh, thank you for sharing also the story, Kersey. So now it's being rendered on the CPU, so this is hopefully not interfering with the stream too much, with the stream quality. If it is, please tell me. But it should give us here a approximation of how it's going to look rendered. And of course, we need to increase the intensity of the light a lot. Now that it's 100, and see, now we're getting somewhere. This is what I meant, that you still have here some shadows, but it's not completely dark anywhere else, so that you can still see the code, for example. So moving the light source here now to the end of the hallway, and instantly we have something that looks like some sort of mood going on. So of course, if I duplicate the light source now, I can have it both ways. I can have it on this side and also there on the other side of the hallway. Let's look through the camera. Okay, this might be a bit too much now, so I can of course decrease some light sources. And the other thing, of course, is this intensity of the emission, which I said was like around 20%. So again, I'm here in my shader now, so that you can follow along. And there under emission, we're here at 23%. So if I turn this slightly down, if I turn it to 0, then everything, only what is illuminated by the lights is visible, of course. So if I crank this up slightly, then we still can see here clearly the code and the numbers everywhere else, but they still get affected here by the lights. Oh yeah, of course, if you're super thorough like myself, like I usually am, of course you can line up here that this perfectly ends also with the end of the line and is not stuck halfway where the characters are somewhere there. Also here, perhaps they're on the background, on the back wall. This needs to be a little bit smaller. And I can do this just by scaling it up. There we go. So I would say this is it for texturing. Now only is the question, okay, how can we animate the cascades that are going on? And that's actually not too hard, and it's also kind of fun. So I switch off now the renderer for Arnold, so this is why it looks a little bit overexposed here. But so, okay, if we're here back in Photoshop, one thing that, if you remember, is that I set a certain size for the characters. So, and this means when we start to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I would say, again, it's, especially here with the pipe character, it's not really monospaced, but I would say we have like 64 times 64 characters. Again, it's not perfect, but it's close. So what I'm going to do now, instead of having my size here at 1K, let's go with 64 times 64. And this is where essentially the map of this cascade. So I'm starting here on a gray background. And what I'll be doing is I create a new layer. So all the little squares were here at pixel level, by the way. So I switch my brush to 1 pixel in size, and it's the pencil tool, which means no anti-aliasing. So, and I switch my color to pure white, and my opacity, not 100% as it is right now, but let's say to 30%, something like this. So let me zoom in, and I will draw here 1 pixel. Then I click and drag from the first pixel, and with that I'm accumulating the brightness there from the first pixel, and then I'm just keep on painting. Maybe this is a little bit too strong. My opacity, let's go with 10% opacity and do this again. So always painting from the first pixel and going back. So this is a simple way of creating here a gradient. Of course, there are different ways of creating gradients. The cool thing about this is, if I want, for example, here, which I want the first pixel to be bright, I just click it multiple times, and then just by accumulating paint, essentially, accumulating opacity, I can control this quite easily. Of course, if I want this, let's say, a little bit longer, then I can just pull it longer. So what is important for me is just here that this first pixel is relatively bright as compared to the others. Maybe this is a bit too long, but yeah, let's say this is good. And so this I have on its own layer, and maybe it's a bit too long. Something like this feels better. And again, I really want that this is much brighter than the rest. So I'm going now, and instead of adding paint, I'm taking off paint. And you can do this in Photoshop. Instead of just switching over to the eraser, you can say the mode is clear. And now when I draw, I take away paint. Yeah, I think this looks better. Okay, cool. And what I can do now is I'm just going to duplicate this, and again make here this cascading pattern. It's actually not too easy that it kind of looks random and still somewhat aesthetic and not too repetitive. The only thing is, of course, that it needs to be there on every line. On every column you need to have one of these things. So I'm just merging them down and copying, moving them up and down a little bit, so it doesn't matter if it's slightly off here on this part. So essentially now we have here this one cascade. Bring it all the way down, and for bonus points I can duplicate this cascade here and maybe move it a little bit, something like this. So now I have 2 cascades going up and down. So what is this going to be used for? Because it's very small, right? So I'm going to duplicate this now, and just so that I can show you what is happening. So I overlay this now here in Photoshop on top of what I have so far. So if I just increase the size here, and yeah, now this is filtered. I do not want this filtered. So instead of using here the bicubic filtering, I switch it to nearest neighbor so that the pixels stay hard pixels. And here comes the magic. I'm using an overlay, a multiply, not multiply, blending mode. So now you can see what is happening when I move this up and down. And if I duplicate it, it becomes quite clear how this is going to be working, yes, how this is going to be work. So you have here these cascades coming down from top to bottom, and all it does is it's multiplying the gray values here. I mean, it looks a little bit repetitive, might be the wrong word, but maybe a bit too controlled. So instead, let's go with just one cascade, and I try to make it a bit less uniform so that it feels a bit more random, or a bit more, let's say, art directed. We will see how this plays out. So, maybe pull it down a bit more. So, okay, I'm going to save this. Again, this can be very small. This is like 64 by 64 pixels, which is good enough for this. So I call this, let's go, cascade. And what the goal here is that I do the exact same thing as I did in Photoshop, but this time I can animate it. So let me have a sip of water. I've been dehydrating myself too much today. So, and I'm going just to rebuild what I did. And again, if you're somewhat familiar with this kind of node-based texturing and compositing, I think it's what many Unreal developers or shader graph developers already are very comfortable with. In Maya, it's similar, and my hunch is in Blender, it's also kind of similar. So what is happening here, just for those completely uninitiated, is this thing here is the actual shader. The actual shader here has inputs for different things, like here the base color and the emission color, and the input here is this file texture, because everything that is a color in this file gets output to the base color, and the file itself has here this placement. The placement itself just says how often does it wrap around something. I can show you what happens here when I mess here with the placement just of the base texture. When I say here rotate frame, then of course everything rotates. Or if I change here the coverage from 1 to, let's say, 0.5, then I'm just using parts here or much more of it. So again, it's the transformation of the texture itself. And then of course there is something that is called offset, and you can see here when I move here the offset, everything is in motion suddenly. And this is exactly what we want to animate, but only for the cascades. So I will set this now for the base texture to 0, 0. And let us bring the cascade. And for this, again, depends on which tool you're working with. In Maya, I can say a new 2D texture and a file. And you can see here, when I create a new file, it has its own placement. So I can have here, it's important that these placements are independent of each other, because the base texture will not move, and only our cascades on top will move. So first, let me bring in the cascades that we have. Matrix cascade, and you can see here it's filtered, which, like I said, we don't want it to be filtered, that it doesn't have here this washed out look. In Maya, you can say here what filter type is, and if I set it to off, then we have here these pixel perfect things. Okay, so now we need to bring the texture and this overlay together. How can we do this? And in Maya, you have some utilities, as it's called. And where is it? Here by utilities. So I can say blend colors, and essentially this happens on a per pixel basis. Yeah, it's pixel perfect. Thank you, Cursiboo. And also thank you for redeeming hydrate once again. So color means a color per pixel. So it's not a solid color. And what we can see here, it's red and blue gets blended by 50% together. I think this is wrong. I don't want to blend colors together, but I want to compose them together. And what was the right one here? Color constant, color mask, color composite. That's the thing. So we have color A and color B, and also it has its alpha. So color A is on top, and no, color B is on top of color A. That is the thing. So when we say here our texture is the first color in, and here our 2D texture, our cascade is color B. There we go. And as for compositing, instead of adding things together, as you can see, this is here the output. When I zoom out, and I will use here multiply and see how this changes. And now with multiply, we have exactly what we want. Exactly in a sense that, of course, if we knew that we had exactly 64 pixels or 64 characters per line, then of course it would look much better than we have here with these cutoff things. But essentially it's working. The only thing we need to do now is here in the 2D placement, we need to animate here this offset. Because again, because it wraps around, we can do this as often as we want, or we can even say just keep going in relatively. So I only set roughly the speed, so to speak. So here in Maya, I can let's animate this. So here on frame 0, I say we start here with our offset of 0, and at frame 500, this thing has wrapped around, let's say 10 times. So, and when I play back here, you can see this is already animating here. Beautiful. So we do not yet see it here. Why is that the case? Well, we need to first make sure that here the color from the composite, that also the output here goes into the base color. And Maya crashed. Beautiful. And that is the thing. This is why I said it's good to save, and I wonder the last time that I saved this before. The quality of software, ladies, gentlemen, and unicorns, the quality of software has been slightly diminishing over the years, I feel. Because, I mean, Maya was kind of flaky with big scenes or lots of textures, but really this very basic compositing of just two basic textures together, this really shouldn't be this pretentious an operation that it warrants a crash every so often. So yeah, let me see when the last time was that I saved, but at least here it recovered something that we have, and looks like that it even has here our cascade. So I'm going to save this now before it crashes again. And let's save this as matrix view 0.2. Cool. When I switch on now here the Arnold renderer, we can see much better what is happening. So when I move over it, you can see here the cascades kind of look good, but since here in the front this is quite in the shadows, there's hardly anything happening here. So one thing that I need again to do here in my hypershade is not just use the color here as the base color, but especially use it here as the emission color. And see here now things updated substantially. Now the only thing is everything is kind of dark. It's too dark. And this, let's save this, is again something here for the shader, because we need to specify or control how much it's being composited or how much it's being multiplied. And for this, I need to change here this value. So essentially what I need to do, I can show you in Photoshop. What I want to do is just use here levels and to make things brighter or darker, because again, this gets multiplied with the underlying value. In Maya, again, it's not as simple, but it's also not that hard. So in utilities, you need to find the remap value thing. Where is it? Remap value. So this, we do not need to remap a color, just a black and white value. So the problem is, of course, the cascade outputs color and not a single grayscale value. But if I open this, well, we get the output for red, green and blue, which is, since this is a black and white image or grayscale image, is exactly the same. So I can use here the red as the input and here as our output. Since the output will also be black and white, I just use here for all three colors, red, green and blue, whatever gets output here. Should look exactly the same as we had, but now I can change here the input and output values. So instead in Photoshop, instead of, let me zoom out, instead of being the histogram, this thing here. So instead of this, it's more like the gradation curves. It's this thing here. So when I change here the input and output at certain points on this curve, then it changes the brightness. And this is exactly what is happening here. So I can do this as well. So let's bring up, for example, here the black and make here the curve a little bit softer. And I can even say here, instead of going from 0 to 1, you know what? Instead of just 1, let's say it goes from 0 to 5 and should be much brighter than 1 mathematically. And the good thing with rendering in floating point is that things that are super bright, mathematically, they like I said, they carry across. And it's not that, is for example, if you make something like super bright in Photoshop, it just gets cut off at pure white. And with Maya, you can have something that is beyond 1 or beyond 100 because it's floating point. So when I play this back now, you can see here it really has these ripples going on. And of course, right now everything is synced, which is kind of cool, actually. I kind of like this. Of course, if you want it to be independent of each other, all you need to do, well, it's not that easy, but all you need to do is use a different texture that has the placement timed differently. So the offset timed differently. Or you can use transparencies, like I said, where you, instead of having that every texture here has the black background, that it has transparent background, and you have multiple layers that have different timings of this effect on top. So I think in a nutshell, this is how I made this matrix effect. Of course, you can always tinker and tweak because it never ends with tweaking. So for example, we can make this still a bit brighter. Let's switch on Arnold again, so that it's much more pronounced. Then, of course, to have this glow effect, I would say that this is more of a post effect. And for this, everything needs to be a little bit brighter still. One thing that I just realized is here, these numbers are pretty big compared to all the others. And again, this is a texturing thing. So bring up the texture here. And it's these 3 things. So if I scale this up, the numbers should become smaller and fit better in. Same thing here on the other end. Just make this a bit bigger so that the texture tiles more often and becomes smaller. So yeah, animated, it looks not as in the Matrix because it thanks to the tiling effect, it looks like digital waterfalls again, which I kind of like. And as always, do not forget the point lights. What you can do with them to give it a bit more of depth, because again, since everything has this green lighting going on, you really want to work here with darkness wherever you can. So to emphasize certain things, so I would use my point lights to really emphasize here, for example, the end there of this hallway. So why not add another light here, or maybe there at the bottom, and have the lights here in front. Where is my light here in front? This one. Let's make it much less pronounced. Something like this. And now when you squint or look at it at a smaller panel, something. When I scale this down a little, suddenly it really has depth to it, where it really feels like that this is a hallway. And of course, to get this glow effect, I mean, it's already halfway there, but this would be a post thing where you take the super bright green values and then you say, in color grading, as I do, for example, you add a film emulation so that it really feels like it's this codec, film stock gets simulated, that that it was filmed on, which also means that you can simulate, okay, if something is very bright on this photographic film surface, it's not like a perfect pixel that is super bright and it can be right next to something that is super dark. It will bleed out a little bit in the film emulsion, so to speak. And again, all these effects and grain, that's post. So and for this, I mean, we can, for example, just increase or decrease the exposure. And you can see here nothing gets clipped. Everywhere there is exposure. Everywhere is exposure. There is fidelity. There is information retained, even if you don't see it in the viewport, which again is kind of neat. So yeah, this would be my very quick matrix effect, because when something gets super bright, I mean, it's already here simulated a little bit. You can see here that this super terminal green gets a little bit yellow, gets a little bit white. And again, this is thanks here to the ACES, where do we have it? To the ACES SDR mapping. So when I say untone mapped, you can see here that this is this garish green thing that you would usually get when you just increase the brightness and saturation on something that is already very saturated. So this ACES is more filmic, so to speak. And again, this is, or unity neutral tone mapping, this again has this ugly thing. So if you can find here this ACES color science, so to speak, because it's more filmic. Yeah, in a nutshell, this would be the matrix effect that I quickly recreated. But again, it feels now very symmetrical. Maybe something that you like or don't like, but overall, I think let's save this and I'm done with it. Playing the effect messes with the stream bitrate. Oh, I can only imagine, because also it's rendering. So, but yeah, it's like with people who stream Vampire Survivors. And when things are going bananas, all you see is artifacts there, because yeah, if you compress, or let's put it the other way. I recorded footage of me playing, not of me playing, but of the game of Vampire Survivors. And when I'm recording this, I record it in a lossless format, because of course lossless means, yeah, you don't lose anything, and then I compress it afterwards. And usually I say when I play, let's say role-playing games or shooters or something, the bitrate, when I say, yeah, just make sure that the bitrate stays below 20,000 kilobits per second. The quality looks, depending on how much you're moving, almost as if it were not compressed at all, because everything is so sharp, because the bitrate is there. But with Vampire Survivors, this is the worst. You need to crank up the bitrate to like 80,000 to be able to somewhat still see all the individual things that are going on. It's really, this game was made to mess with video codecs. It's quite something. Yeah, so matrix effect. By the way, the other cool thing, of course, that you can do that I didn't show is, since everything is following the texture coordinates. So if you have something that is maybe a spiral or something, or a pipe, of course, then you can make sure that it travels and it follows the curve of the pipe. Because if you texture it linearly and then just deform it later, it's easy peasy. And the other thing that I like that looks pretty cool is if you do this on spheres. So let me add a sphere when if I can I create polygon sphere? And probably I should also make sure that it's visible and that we give it the same shader. Let's put this weird sphere here, look at it through the camera. And where's my hypershade? Why is, oh, it's spinning up the hard drive. I can hear it spin up. There we go. Assign to selection. And here in the viewport, of course, I can decrease the exposure a little bit, that we see better, because again, what Maya is showing in the viewport and what Arnold is, the renderer is outputting, is kind of in stark difference to each other. So let me scale this up as well. I think this could work. And again, just for the sake of the effect, by the way, also when I'm playing the effect, when I zoom in, of course the preview switches over to this very pixelated view, because of course the renderer cannot keep up in real time, because I'm rendering this on the CPU. But this is the cool thing in Maya and with this Arnold renderer. By the way, the Arnold renderer was developed, I think, somewhere with Sony Pictures for Spider-Man, I think, for the first Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire in 2001 or so. Anyway, the cool thing about this is now, so here it says I'm rendering this on the CPU, and let's see how long it takes to render this viewport. I would say a couple of seconds, let's say 20-25 seconds. The cool thing is I can switch this over to the GPU. Again, I do not know, since the GPU is also in part working on the stream, so hopefully I wasn't too choppy. But it took 24 seconds to render this on the CPU, on the state-of-the-art CPU, I might add. And I can change it here from CPU to GPU, and let's see how long it takes to render now. So same image, GPU 3 seconds. And of course, this is really something, because I remember when back in the day, I rendered something in, let's say, HD resolution, and one frame would take like 3 hours or something, when you have ray tracing and everything going on. So this, doing pretty much anything that you can do in this render on the GPU is quite something. Okay, of course, I'm still not part of the Blender crowd. Probably that's something that they already have, or for a long time. But for me, it's a big thing. Okay, thank you for saying that the stream handled it just fine. This is... Remember when I tried to play, what was it, Cyberpunk 2077 a couple of years back, and the stream not only tanked, it completely crashed. It like 3 minutes or so, it needed to catch up again. This was horrible. So I'm glad that at least that is behind us. Right, so this was the quick thing that I wanted to show the first half hour of this stream. So I hope it was not too boring to you. Again, I like the effect, so maybe I will use it for something else, because of course, if you do not have it here in this matrix green, and you use just a different color, and suddenly it has a complete different feeling. So let's go with something that is here, this maybe this kind of blue. And then just save it here as texture, and let's see how well Maya takes to it. When I change here the texture, of course I have to reload it again. If I can find it. So okay, it's already here. There we go. And suddenly it has a completely different feel to it. Like some underwater thing, right? So, and if you do this with ASCII characters, I think there might be an art style in there. If you have something, a game that is completely based on ASCII characters, but you do something like ray marching or advanced graphic effects. Like I said, if it's underwater, everything is ASCII graphics, but still it has this weird feeling. Again, maybe one day I want to toy with this idea. Right, so let us get back to the recent project that was, where is it? Scenes, scripts. There are my scenes up here. This is the wrong project. Get back to recreating my childhood home in glorious PlayStation 1 graphics. I'm completely wrong. Probably should try to think. Usually I want to say, yeah, it's hard to talk and think, but I'm not talking and I'm not thinking. I don't know what I'm doing. It's easier for me to talk while I'm doing this. So, projects, CGI 2025, PS1, Street, Maya, and then we look into the scenes. And there we have it. This is where we left off. So again, you can see that it looks relatively high res, but this is only due to the textures. Because for modeling, I use a high res texture than I'm using for the actual output, or how I would use the actual output in the end. So that was the wrong one. Texture house 1, 2, quarter. There we go. So this is how it would look like here with the PlayStation 1 texture resolution and color of number of colors. There we go. So the question, of course, is how to continue. What do I want to do? Do I want to finish this because it's still lacking here? It has this little canopy there and some rails going on, or do I want to continue with let's say the other house that is next to it? But probably it's probably best to finish with something that you already started. So let me see if I can find my references again, because since childhood home and I did some digging and looked through some of my old photos, and I want to create this how it looked 20 years ago. So it wasn't easy finding pictures of it, but I found at least some that I can use hopefully to some degree. And where is it? This one is called Old. So you can see here there is this sort of canopy, and by the way, this is already the new rails here. And I want the old ones, and the old ones were brown or green, I think. And thankfully, at some point I found them. Where do I have it? Okay, so this is an old picture of it, and you can see here these rails here at the sides. The upper portion is black, and the actual bars here are brown. And I think as a kid I remember them even being some sort of green. And the canopy here, or whatever this is some sort of wavy thing. It's not metal, but it's not completely transparent. This is some weird industrial thing that apparently was very well liked in the 70s. Maybe I have some better pictures here. So these are other streets here in the house, in the same street, and they all have these weird wobbly things on top. See, this is how it looked back then. So yeah, I want to recreate this, maybe even here with this kind of growth in the PlayStation 1 graphics. So I think this is actually not too bad, because I can see here how the rails, they're pretty simple. They just go from here, then they make this slight bend, and then down. So I think this should not be too hard. So for this, let me create a cube for starters. And corrugated sheet metal is the term, I think. No, I mean, the term is right, but it's not what it is. Let me see if I can find a better picture of it. It's something like this. Again, it's not metal, it's some weird kind of plastic. And I think I have some picture of me of the camera pointing up, where if I can find it. Yes, I can here. So it looks, yeah, that's me, by the way. This is how I looked 20 something years ago. Ah, cute. But I think I have another picture of this, probably not that well. Yeah, so it's transparent, but it's plastic. It's some kind of plastic. Anyway. Oh, curious. Yeah, it was never pretty, and I think this is also why my mom at some point get rid of it. Yeah, it looks a little bit like this frosted glass, I think is the closest thing, but it's some kind of cheapish plastic. So, but it has here a rain drain. So, right, can't be too hard. So, as I remember it, it starts here. So this little patch of concrete is the foundation of it, and everything then just builds off it. So how high is this? Good question. Probably this high. Point 0.5. Let's make this square. And since this is going to be used anyway in a way that we don't see the caps, so I might be tempted to just to cut off here the bottom and the top of it, because I mean the top probably I might want to keep, but the bottom you don't see anyway. So let's see if I can find a better picture. See, this is the fun when you try to find something here. This is a different point of view at the side, so you can see here it's actually this is floating at the top, and only at the corners it has some struts there. In between it has these decorative struts, I think. So this goes straight into the wall here. And there we can see, I remembered it incorrectly. So it's not here at the sides, it's really here in front, this strut here. Good to know. Weird. Never trust your memory, huh? So I would go with something like this. Again, I'm not trying to recreate it perfectly, but of course, at some point when you try to cut corners and you think, it doesn't really matter where I place it, especially when you're doing architectural details, and then in the end certain things just don't align anymore, and you feel like, oh, okay, this is now I get it why it's built that way. It's always curious when you find out. So let's assign this. Kersey says, photos and logs are great for correcting your brain. Yeah, and again, it's very humbling to realize how incorrectly you remember something, and you swear on your grandmother's grave how something was. Yeah, you chances are you remembered it incorrectly. So like I said, it's very humbling sometimes. Okay, so texturing is here a bit different than the last time, because it needs to be a little bit better. So what I like about this texture here is that the entire texture here is just there on the top. So instead I say, hey, you know what, please automatically map this for me. So now I have all the sides individually, and then I can fuse them together how I want. So cut and sew, stitch together, and stitch together, and once more stitch together. And now for some reason it's crooked. Okay then. But I can rotate this and then say, hey, please straighten this, unfold, align and snap, optimize, straighten UVs. That's what I want. Yeah, that's much better. And since this is brown, and I already have something that is brown up here, that is part of the wall, maybe I can use this. Just use here the entire square. I don't think that I have to be this thorough, but again, it's nice when you feel like you're doing a good job. So also making sure that these things align nicely, because I'm snapping to pixels. So when I'm moving it, then I am sure that it actually did snap. So let's have a look at it. And yes, it says gorgeous PlayStation 1 vibe to it. Yeah. It works. It works. And I realize it. Okay, this brown here should actually, I'm using the same brown as the wall. But I mean, pretty roses now that I'm looking at it. But it's probably, it looked like it's closer to whatever the tiles are, the color of the tiles. So what if I move it to a different part of the texture? instead and see how that looks. So if I move it here and say, you know what, this is actually tiles. Or this is here, this is door. Let's see. Yeah, kind of looks worse. Never mind then. I will move it back and as how it was. Or maybe, I mean, here I have not utilized here the roof texture. Maybe I can use here the roof texture. Maybe this looks better. I mean, it does look better, but now it has here these sections, which, you know what, let's go back to the wall. By the way, I'm still using here the very low-res 16 color version instead of the PlayStation 2 version. And apparently this is, that's incorrect. Texture house 2. Okay, I hope I didn't do things wrong. Textures house 1. Okay, that's the right thing. Good. Okay, now we can see that this is very wrong. So here I'm back in my UV editor. Or can we use what I was been using here, that this wood could work. So if we look at it now, I mean, now it really does look like wood. But you know what? Actually, that's not bad. I mean, I think this was painted brown so that it kind of looks like wood. So I think we've come full circle here. And yeah, this part here, this is actually the top. I'm not sure if you can see it, but yeah, I just plop it here and give it also this wood appeal. Cool. So how does this continue from here? So then we have here this lower strut that goes all the way up. And I think by the way, where are we? How far did I put this into the ground? So this now that's better. So how high is this? Well, pretty high. So I would say this goes in terms of height up halfway the stairs, something like this even. Maybe that's too high. That's too low. That's hard. I probably should have measured this, but then again, this again would defeat a little bit the purpose of saying, yeah, I'm just eyeballing it. And this is just a chill recreation. So I think this is how it looks on the top. And I'm pretty sure, but again, don't trust your brain, is that here in the corners, there is no such strut anymore. But let's see if I can find another picture. It feels a little bit like you're a detective in some sort and trying to figure out of what you can see from very grainy pictures there. Okay, so what I can see is there is definitely here is this one base pillar. And here it goes around. And this one is kind of looking good, I would say. But I think this is still the best picture that I have of this part. What about this one? This is so grainy. These are photos from first digital cameras in 2000. Here is a nighttime view of this, and I don't think that you can discern anything here. So this is a view of the neighbors, which does not really help. got the street in winter, by the way, as well. Okay, so here this is good because now here the rose bush is cut. And look, see, there is a strut where I said there was none. Okay, there is no strut here, but in the corner there is. Okay, then this helps. This is so fun. So it's not here, it's here. Good to know. Okay, then let's do the bottom part of it. This shouldn't be too hard, because this I can just... Why is it snapping? This just hovers here above the stairs. And I just need to make sure that it's here in the object space, and then I can just move it up until it's here. And this is where it just goes around the corner without touching the bottom. So half-sized. Let's snap this to some vertices. This is not vertex snapping. This is vertex snapping. So I'm doing this for one side and then continue on the other. Okay, so I think I got this to be better in renderable through the PlayStation. It needs to have here some more segments, and here at every step when I insert a new segment, I think this should be good. Otherwise, I mean, you get with the PlayStation, you get wobbly textures, and I think this might even be the reason why they are so tessellated, so that they can wobble. But as long as they wobble, the texture is looking perspectively more correct than when you have one huge, at least in the first PlayStation, when you have one huge wall that only consists of the four corners, because the PlayStation 1 does not have texture correction, and it will look super strange. So instead you tessellate it, because with the PS1 it was very performant when it came to the number of polygons. It just didn't have lots of graphics or memory for textures. So I want to insert here some segments in between, and there probably is a better way than of me just eyeballing it. So let's see if I can figure this out. So probably here it's in edit mesh, and add divisions looks kind of good. And oh, look at this, divisions in U and divisions in V. This is exactly what I want. And I always have to try it and then undo it, because it's U and V is different. So I want 4 divisions vertically, so that we have here 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's try this, apply. And yes, this is good. This is what I wanted. Let's do the same thing here. Perfect, wonderful. Okay, then I can use here this cube object. And make this again planar again, so it has a rotation of 90 degrees. This is good. So this is that part, and this one goes straight into the wall, if I remember correctly. And I think I even have photos of it going into the wall, like so, and we should be good. So with the last segment there, doesn't matter if I stretch it. So then I'm just aligning it here to the vertices of the wall. And yeah, looks good. Let's save this. So now I need to have here this little bend of how it goes. So for this, I just duplicate what I have. And then somehow merge the vertices together. And once I have it on this side, then I can just copy and flip it over to the other, and then it should be symmetrical. So there might be some Z fighting going on. So this is when textures or objects overlap at the exact same position as others. So this is not what you want. And I think this these struts here are a bit not as wide as the posts there. So I'm using the word strut always when I'm referring to something. But as far as I know, a post is something that sticks in something vertically, and a strut is when something that is horizontally. But yeah, I'm not too good with architectural terms, so take this with a pitcher of salt. So to line here these two things up, I wonder how can I do this the most elegantly, again, that it's not being too cumbersome here. So, and I think if I can just match here the vertices. You know what, again, hasn't to be perfect. So if this is again slightly wobbly, then it's fine. It's fine. So, okay, now the vertices here are somewhat connected. Now I just need to make sure that I get somehow a little corner in there that doesn't look too wrong. So this one, this vertex here, where am I? This vertex is not quite connected there. So, taking care of that. So, again, this is an ugly polygon. As you can see, this looks wrong, but I think it should be fine, because in the end, no one's going to look at it anyway. I mean, at this bend, this is just to make sure that it's there. So again, why aren't those two vertices not lining up? I don't get it. Why I can't make them snap? Okay, now they snap. Is this a precision thing? When I zoom in, it should line up. Now it does. Apparently some sort of precision thing. Anyway, let's make here this bend. So for this, I'm selecting this U shape here, and then I'm just wrong. Then I'm just pulling it forward. So I'm using here the object this way, so I can just rotate it like this, do this twice, and then I have this thing snapped together, and it should be fine, I hope. So, I do not need this vertex, do not need this vertex. And maybe let's isolate those things and look at them from the top. So, you know what? Actually, it's a PlayStation 1 graphics. I can just connect them like this. Just the snapping is throwing me off a bit. So, switching over here to wireframe view. And hopefully have a better time snapping. Yes. This, for what it's worth, this looks good. It's not pretty, but it's okay. So the only thing that I need to do now is, as we've seen here, it doesn't know what to do texture-wise with the thing that I extruded here. So I need to, texture this. It's so ugly. But it's fine. It's fine, Phil. Do not overthink this. So these shapes on top here are what we just created. So if I again map them automatically so that they should have roughly the shape, then I can again fuse them together. Where am I? There we go, stitch together, and this goes here. And then I have the entire part. And then I just move it roughly where the rest of this shape is. And then it will be just a couple of pixels or texels in that case. And kinda, I would say all good question mark. But this one, I mean, here it gets darker, and on this end, you know what? I wouldn't say let's go the extra mile, but let's make this a bit prettier. So the reason for this being is that this part here is at the very top where it's already very dark in the texture, and these edges here are instead here at the very bottom. So instead, if I bring them up here and just align them here a bit nicer to the pixels, and that should be already it. That should already be enough, so that I can rest in peace knowing that I didn't do a too bad a job. So almost. So where is, okay, this edge, okay, I was challenged in terms of orientation. So transform, rotate. Where's my rotation? There we go. Like this. Okay, now it matches. And now I need to do this for this thing here, where I can just, can move it up, and once it's up there, I mean, we still have some wood appeal to this, which I think is not too bad, but now it has here this very good termination that it really blends together. So, and now I can fuse these two models. So mesh, combine, edit mesh, merge, and there we go. No, there we don't. They're still individual objects. Why? Didn't I just merge you two? Merge. Okay, now the vertices aren't merged, so then I have to merge them together. So, yeah, these two vertices belong to each other. Merge to center. These two belong together. These two. And these. So, and I think with that, everything has been merged. Everything is looking good. And I think for the top, I can do just something as simple as, well, not that. So here in the world space, and just move it here up on top. And roughly have here the appearance of this kind of railing. That's rail and railing. This always throws me a little bit off. So, kind of cool. Why is this wrong? Yeah, of course, we're starting here a little bit higher. So, of course, this post has to be a bit higher. And in the original photo, I don't think you can see it. It has some sort of slight bend there forward. I think I've seen this somewhere. Yes, here you can see that it overshoots and has here this little bend that goes down and does something that's hopefully pretty. Yeah, as for these struts here in between, I can do them as models, or I can use a transparent texture for this, I wonder which would be more PlayStation-y. I think the transparent texture would be kind of PlayStation-ish. Okay, let's see how I can do a transparent texture in Maya. So we don't need this anymore. So, okay, on this screen I can see it a bit better. Projects, CGI. There we have the setup. Good, and somewhere here I need to add some more. Another slot of texture, so to speak. Grid and slices, there we go. So I need a grid line every 128 pixels with no subdivisions. Let's view my grid. So, good. Okay, then I think I got here some room. And let me just very crudely paint this in. So how do they look like? Okay, they are thin, then they grow a little bit thicker in the center and then thin again. So this is, you know what this is? Actually, we can even reflect this or mirror it. So let's draw it like this for starters. And because this is mirrored, I can mirror it all the way, essentially. So on multiple axes. That's the thing. So cool. Or I want to cut out just this part. Or, you know what, I probably should make this a bit wider because otherwise it will be just a couple of pixels in the end, especially when I scale this down. So what I just drew, just so that you know what this brown thing here is, let me draw this here in a new canvas. So what I want to do is, let me draw this out as a grid. So so what I drew, you see here, is this thing, and what I want to do is use this. Need to increase my opacity. Want to use this here for the top part, then flip it over, use it for the bottom part, flip it over, use it for the right part, flip it over, and use it for the bottom part, flip it over. And I mean, when you have this and squeeze it together to this, then you have something that looks like one of these pillars here. That, at least this is the idea. So then, of course, I need to specify somehow that we have transparencies, which will be an issue by itself. But for now, I'm just concerned here with getting the shape right. And then I will look into how I can do the transparency. So let's call this railing. And to make things clear here, the background, I switch the background to white, because then it will be really clear what is background. So save this, PNG, and texture house 1, house 2. Which one was the latest one? I will go with house 2. There we go. Okay, so let's execute on the plan that I have thought out. I create a new plane. Doesn't matter the size, just need a plane right now. And I'm going to texture this plane. First, of course, it needs to get the right texture. So this is the texture, and it needs just the part that we created. So I'm going to scale it down substantially. There we go. Yeah, making this white probably was not my best idea because now I can't really see the... There we go, the wireframe. Okay, so far so good. Then when I scale this up and down, it works how it should. And now I'm going to just duplicate this and flip and flop it around. And merging it, combine, merge vertices. Or is this... Okay, now it's flopped and flipped. Good, duplicate. Again, merge, combine and merge. And oh yeah, one thing here, so that I can control where it starts to taper a little bit. And with that, I think I have here my post, my strut, my column. Oh, thank you for redeeming unicorn. Sorry, yeah, I noticed that my mouth grew a little bit dry. Good, okay, so I think this is part one, or one part of the railing. And now all I need to do is place it. So let's move this up 90 degrees. And how many are there actually? Can we count this? Probably not on this image, but I think I got a better one, as always. All I need to do is find it, as always. So those are the neighbors. So many photos and all so very bad. Oh yeah, maybe here. Maybe here. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Probably 11, 12, maybe 13, 12 to 13 there on the stairs. So it's more than I thought, actually. So if I scale this down, it should look correct. Need to make sure that it sticks smack dab here in the part where it should go into. Scale it up and down, that it sticks correctly. So now only for the proportion where it starts to taper off. I think I got this wrong. It needs to be somewhat... didn't mean to do that. Something like this, I think. And also it's a little bit thinner. Something like so. Yeah, I think with that, I would say I'm happy. So the problem is, of course, to distributing this evenly. This is really one of the problems that I usually have, especially in 3D. And I think there was a tool where I could do this. But first, yeah, let's create, let's make 10 copies. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and move the last one to where I want it. And then hope that there is some sort of alignment tool like in Photoshop that I can just interpolate the positions between them. At one point there was, So let's go with modeling and let's see if I can find it. Transformation tools, this looks good. Move tool. Proportional, no. Default, no, this was not it. Align tool, there we go. Snap align objects. Position along curve. Almost, but the align tool. I mean, the align tool has now here these little icons, which is kind of neat, but not exactly what I want. Instead of aligning, I need to distribute them. I think that's the right one. So probably I need to say snap together. Can I say they should? No. To have some spacing. It feels a little bit like CSS, but in 3D. The only other way around this is to break out the calculator and do this manually, which is something that I want to cheat my way around. So align tool, align along curve. Do I really need to draw a curve? I mean, yeah, screw this. Why not? Let's try this with a curve. So let's look at it from the side. And let's draw a curve. Create curves, curve tool, CV curve. So let's start from the top and place one down here. So there, we have a line that is a curve. And where is my curve? Here is the curve. And let's see if this I can. I mean, you can hardly see the curve here on stream, but it is this faint blue line hovering here. If I switch over, it's this diagonal line here. So now I think you can see it a bit better. So I want now to align this on this curve. So let's try this. Align objects, position along curve. Runtime error. Oh dear, what's the matter? Just runtime error. Oh god. Oh, probably because I need to select the curve. That's Maya. So, snap object position along curve. There we go. Almost correct. You see them bunching up here. That's on me because the CV curve needs 4 points. And what I did was I made 1 point up here and then the other 3 points at the bottom. So this is why the curve is not good. But okay, at least we know that this works. Oh god, Maya, it's every day it feels like I'm relearning something that I already knew. Okay, so just need to create a curve differently. So how can I do this? Curve tools. Pencil curve, Bezier tool, 2-point circular arc. Oh, it's an arc. Bezier curve tool, CV EP. What's an EP curve? I mean, I'm EP myself. Okay, EP is just 2 points. That I can work with. Okay, this should be a bit better now. Okay, let's try this again. Align objects, position along curve. There we go. Isn't this beautiful? Relatively speaking, but oh yeah, of course, the first one is in center. But look at this. Now all I need to do is do this transparency thing. But overall, EP, don't shrimp. Thank you. Thank you for the posture check. So, yeah, this actually went a little bit better than anticipated. All I need to do is move it inside and there we go. Cool. Hey, that's progress. So the last thing that I want to try for today is to get transparencies working. At least in Maya so that I see what I'm doing. So, and this is a shader thing. So I'm using here, which kind of shader? I'm using a Phong shader. So it's probably one of the most archaic shaders even. So it should have some sort of transparency. And yes, it does. And I have here an output for alpha. So let's try the alpha output. And I just throw away the background. Oh, this was bad because you can see here there is slight transparencies because I threw out the background because this is still Photoshop. So, okay, instead of doing that, I duplicate everything. I merge everything. I duplicate everything again. And then throw out the background and then say, hey, I want to use an image here as our alpha matte. So for this, I create a black background and everything here that I just merged is white. So background black, everything that I selected white. And save this as a PNG file and I call this houses2 matte. So, and we do it a bit like we did with the matrix code before, is I load in a new 2D texture, an image. But in this case here, because this is the matte for this image, the placement should be exactly the same. So this is why I'm connecting this up. So, and I'm going to load here my matte, there we go. And I'm using here the one thing that is important is the color space. It's always doing a color space transformation. Since I'm using just black and white, I want to say, hey, this is a utility texture. So white should be white and black should be black so that it's always correct. And not some weird shade of gray so that it's halfway transparent. And Console says, good night all, thanks for the stream, thanks for still being here and lurking. I hope I could help you fall asleep with my talk about Maya and vertices and that sort of thing. Thank you, I hope you have a wonderful week. And yeah, I'll be tomorrow with the Austrian streamers starting around 6 in the evening, talking about retro stuff in German, which will be super weird. I hope I still know German. And apart from that, probably next Sunday will be a stream. So until then, bye bye, and thank you for sticking with me this long. So I'm using here, instead of the alpha output, I'm using just one color channel and I use this as transparency. Why can I use this as transparency? Oh, transparency has red, green and blue, so then use it as that. And does this work? I mean, here it looks wrong, right? There is something happening that is not good. And also here, something is not good. And I have a feeling, from what we can tell, that my matte is wrong. So it actually should be the other way around. Link shared somewhere for that stream. Good, thank you, not yet. I will post it on the socials, and I think here it's on Twitch, it's Austrian streamers. I think the link to the Austrian streamers should also be somewhere in my, there we go. It should also be in my bio somewhere, but this would be the link to Austrian streamers. I'm not sure what is happening right now with them or the latest videos. I think 8 days ago. Yeah, I'm not sure if they keep previous broadcasts, but one thing is quite interesting or quite funny is that one of the Austrian streamers is traveling around visiting other Austrian streamers, and they just cook together and stream what they're cooking and just talking while cooking. So almost there. It's just that apparently here for the matte, it's the other way around. So how can I, oh yeah, one thing here, I'm not pre-filtering my textures. So now they should be super crisp, because otherwise if I'm filtering my textures, you can see here there are weird artifacts happening. And if I say this is off, then all these, the weird edges are gone. So the only thing is I need to invert this. This shouldn't be too hard. There probably is a utility somewhere. Oh, that's not a my utility. That just says invert. Reverse, there we go. So I'm taking here the color in, just one input. Does it take the color input? Yes. And I'm inverting and putting the output there. And yes, look at it. This is much better. Now, of course, we have here some aliasing artifacts, but that is also easy dispelled with. Look at this. And now the only thing that we got here is some weird sorting errors everywhere. This really feels like it's a PlayStation thing, that this is happening. Why is this happening? That is the question. And I think this has to do again with the normals. So I'm trying now, if I flip the normals, does this change something? If I flip the normals, oh look, it's worse. Maybe this is just a viewport thing. Could also be, let's see what I can do here in the viewport. Shading, render a viewport 2.0. So let's see what all the things that I can take are. Hardware fog, screen, ambient. There should be something here with alpha cut prepass. I think that was it. The alpha cut prepass. Yes. There we go. And now it looks correct. Cool. Yeah, it still has the PlayStation 1 appearance. And for this to carry across correctly, let me try and do the same thing again. As the last thing that I did before is, let's convert this to a quarter of a resolution, 16 colors, and see how it looks then, to get the proper PlayStation appearance. So I'm scaling this down by 24%, say, you know what, nearest neighbor scaling, so that everything stays here super crisp. As you can see, crispy. And now let's reduce the colors and go to 8 pixels and indexed color. So, and it's 24 colors for everything. And let's go here with a different diffusion, 90%, 10%. Let's go with something like, let's go with 33%. So it has a little bit of this graininess, but not too much. And here, this will be the struts that we just created. So let's try this, saving as textures house 2 16 colors quarter. Changing here the texture again. And here we go, 16-bit look. Well, actually 32-bit look. And one thing you can see here that I did not reduce to a quarter resolution is the alpha channel. So this is why these parts here are relatively sharp still, but overall retain the good old PlayStation 1 look. I mean, it's a very, I would say it's a very high-res PlayStation 1 game, or a very low-res any other kind of PlayStation game. But overall, you know what? I would say huge success. And I'm going to save it, and I say I'm past my time for today. Thank you for sticking with me. 10 viewers still. So thank you for having interest in this very weird, very personal project of mine. Yeah, so again, the idea is at some point to have half of the street maybe recreated here digitally. And so you can see here again, maybe a little bit better. So this is not metal, this is some sort of plastic that is like some sort of frosted, ugly looking plastic. So that's still for a later date. Mr. Troy is here. Oh, you just joined when I was about to wrap up. Oh, thank you for dropping by, Mr. Troy. So the skinny of today was in the beginning I tried very quickly, like half an hour or so, to recreate the Matrix. Do I still have the scene open? If I can quickly show it. This Matrix effect in 3D. Recent files, there we go. Matrix view. Let's save this. And yeah, this is when I change the texture to blue. The hard drive needs to spin up. And essentially it's just a texture with I'd make it a little bit brighter so that you can actually see what's going on, with another texture overlaid on top, and that actually is animated. It used to work before that you could see what was happening there. Probably because I switched to GPU rendering. Let me switch it back and make the stream very choppy. In GPU it still loads the green texture. So yeah, this would be for the matrix effect. So again, I thought this half an hour, what I did was I ranted about 1 hour about microslop, and then we took way too long to try to find a nice monospaced font and didn't succeed. So yeah, this would be my half of the stream that you've missed. So really it's not much. And the other half, of course, is let's save this as well, is again trying to recreate here the house in which I grew up, and today I made this nice railing here with some transparency in the texture for these kinds of pillars, which again I'm surprised how well this works. And when you look down from this window, and it should look like the picture, this one here, the picture that I just had open. So this is the view that I want to still need to recreate. So it's, again, it's the real world is always a little bit more wobbly and wonky than 3D. But again, I think for PlayStation 1, nostalgia reasons, I think I succeeded. Thank you for saying cool to this, or was it a John Oliver cool, where he sees something he disapproves of and goes cool and moves on? No, I take it in, of course, in the best faith. Right, so I'm really sorry that I'm going to wrap it up right now when you joined. So hopefully next week I'll be streaming on Sunday, so not tomorrow, but in 8 days. And maybe you can make it. Even if not, I just marked you down as you're there in spirit, and that's all good for me. No, I enjoy stuff like, okay, good. So yeah, I mean, we're all nerds, right? So it's good to know that, yeah, fellow nerds, same page. Wonderful. Alrighty then. Thank you so much, everyone, for sticking with your good old pal Phil, who doesn't even find the right buttons to push on his Stream Deck, despite he really should by now. Thank you everyone for sticking with me. I hope it was entertaining, or what I always say, maybe even a little bit EP. So in that case, probably I'm a little bit too agitated. So if you want to listen to me stream while you try to fall asleep, please let me know. Then I will try my best not to be too passionate about polygons and that sort of thing. Commander Stitch added about 600 words today. My god, Commander Stitch, you're a machine. 600 words. By the way, Commander Stitch is writing part 2 to his novel, and it's amazing that he could write next to me, pushing pixels and not shutting up for a second. So congratulations on that. Another day, another good progress. Yes, indeed, Cursiboo. So I hope all of you also have great progress on your personal projects. And again, new postmortem. It's in beta right now, so hopefully, I would say 2 weeks-ish, and then at least it will, I'm pretty sure that it will release before the next Ludum Dare starts. So yeah, finally, that's something out the door. Yeah, and enjoyed the Scream stream. Okay, good. And Kersey drew stuff while listening. Wonderful. This is always nice. I always love to do this in school when it was not something that you really had to pay attention to, where you could just, yeah, someone is telling a nice story or I don't know what, but you just drew this. I love this. So I hope I can give you more of that, where it's just, yeah, you hear someone yap, it's mildly interesting, but you can get ahead on your projects. This is all good with me. Alrighty then. Thank you everyone. Have a wonderful week. Like I said, I'll be back tomorrow with the Austrian Streamers podcast on their channel for an hour and a half, probably in German, talking about retro things. I get the video afterwards, so maybe I put it up on YouTube for any German speaker who might be interested in. Depends on how well it goes. If it goes all horribly wrong, I will burn the video file and say, this never happened. Please have me in your best memories. This never happened. No, hopefully it won't be that bad. I'm very much looking forward to that. And yeah, and in 8 days, another afternoon or evening, depends on your time zone, with your good old pal Pixel. All right. I don't know how to end things, so I try to keep this now to the point. Bye bye everyone. Take care.